as you attack, which ricochet around wildly and quickly. These deal moderate damage as they travel, but will explode into a highly damaging burst when they expire. So it's a choice between scaling their duration up to get better coverage, or down to access the burst more quickly. Kinetic Instability is a support gem to go along with the new wand attacks that causes enemies slain to leave behind those same orbs of shimmering energy that Kinetic Rain creates. One might ponder just how many orbs you can create if you were to use both. In 3.27, Exiles will be able to absorb the power of some of the bosses they defeat. These take the form of new Ascendancy class options, called Bloodlines. Bloodline classes are a new means of character customization in the endgame. They are secondary Ascendancy classes that are unlocked by defeating specific endgame bosses. They are allocated with your normal Ascendancy points, and you'll have to choose how many of your points go into the original Ascendancy and how many into your Bloodline class. This means there is a nigh limitless ability to mix and match here, as you could choose to invest just a couple points into your Bloodline, or max it out, and you could take any Bloodline with any base Ascendancy class that you see fit. To unlock your Bloodline, hunt down the endgame boss whose power you desire, and defeat them, or have a friend help, and claim the power for your own.
I don't watch sports, go away.
There are 10 Bloodline classes to discover. Bosses who offer this power are typically associated with past leagues, giving additional reasons to engage with that league content. Let's run over a few examples. The Chaos Bloodline will be offered to you by the Trial Master, if you manage to succeed his final challenge. With his blessing, you can greatly augment your Val skills in different ways. Priest of Yalmak lets you use Val skills much more often, while Priest of Kopek makes it harder to build up Val skills, but makes them far more powerful. Or take Corruption's Embrace, which grants more Val Keystone powers the more corrupted items you have equipped. The Ashabi Bloodline can be gained by, you guessed it, defeating Ashabi.
No way.
Abilities are drawn from the 3 types of life force that manifest within as Marian spirits. The Wild Bear rewards you with adrenaline for generating rage. The Vivid Cat gives your elusive buffs a chance to refresh, as well as making you more stealthy while elusive. The Primal Owl allows your unleashed spells to reoccur many additional times, and get stronger for each time they reoccur.
Ooh.
The Nameless Bloodline comes from the King in the Mists. Be forewarned, his menacing power comes at a great cost. With the Unseen Hand, you can equip a 3rd ring.
Third
But
ring,
you'll have
baby,
to
let's
decide
go.
if that comes at the expense of having no amulet, no belt, or no flasks.
Oh shit.
Unlight Silhouette adds a hefty life cost to all your spells, but they deal additional chaos damage based on the amount of life spent. Of course, there is more to come. What powers might you glean from delving deep underneath Rayclass to fight all the Crystal King? What secrets can you learn from Lycia,
I need to fix
Herald of the Scourge waiting at the end of the Forbidden Sanctum?
My webcam's gonna zoom in for a second.
As you can imagine, there are countless possible combinations with the system. You could be a Slayer that embraces corruption and vile power, or perhaps you'll play an Occultist that doubles down on their dark power by integrating the Nameless Bloodline. We are excited to see what crazy and interesting builds players come up with. In the most recent Path of Exile 2 expansion, the 3rd Edict, we introduced a much anticipated feature, fully asynchronous trade. It was a fantastic success. So now, we're excited to announce that we'll also be adding this feature into Path of Exile 1.
Hell yeah.
When you reach Act 6, you'll be able to find Faustus in Lion Eye's Watch. Previously, he just operated the currency exchange. Now, he will also act as a steward for your merchants tabs. These are where you can place items for sale, for direct and instant purchase by other players even when you're not online. To list an item, simply place it in the tab and select a currency and an amount.
I'll let you know.
Once listed, other players will be able to find the item by searching for it via the trade website or the new in-game market search.
Because
To
the cat name
purchase
is
something
I
for
Love
yourself,
Bootsy.
it's as easy as hitting this button, which will teleport you to the seller's hideout, where you can view their merchants tabs, buy the item, and also view the rest of their wares in case something else catches your eye. Every purchase costs a small fee of gold, as Faustus takes his cut. To account for this further drain on gold, acquisition and cost balance elsewhere in the game has been adjusted. Anything you've managed to sell successfully will have your profits collected here, in a separate tab to claim at your leisure.
Hell
To
yeah.
be clear, previous means of trading, such as via pre-existing premium stash tabs and the website, will still function just as before. Merchants tabs, and the asynchronous trading that comes with them, are an entirely additive feature on top of the already existing methods to trade. You might find
To
yourself
buy
needing the
orbs,
trade system to
please.
buy some upgrades, because this update also introduces 3 new Uber Pinnacle boss fights.
Uber bosses.
These encounters are manifested from the memories of Zana, and in her long torment, they have festered into something truly deadly. These fights offer an imposing challenge, alongside powerful rewards. In order to gain access, similar to existing Uber Pinnacle fights, you'll need to discover fragments dropped by Tier 17 map bosses. Each attempt at the new Uber Pinnacle fights will require 5 of these. Let's dig into some of the challenges you'll need to face in these new Uber versions. In the original incarnation of Neglect fight, the statues can be used to block the laser beams to hide behind, giving you an opportunity to avoid being shocked, frozen, or killed.
Very
When you run
similar
near these
to
statues, they activate and allow you to reposition them. While activated, they will not stop the lasers, meaning you want to position them well, then avoid them.
scary.
In the Uber version of this fight, instead of being a safe haven, the statues will refract the laser beams, causing a ruckus of energy to cover the arena.
No.
Activating them will prevent the refraction, so unlike the base fight, where you want to position them well and then avoid them, you'll be wanting to constantly
Yes.
keep these statues active. But then, you have to deal with their assault of attacks.
Yeah, that looks pretty crazy.
While fighting the incarnation of fear, these fiery orbs will slowly clutter up the arena, locking
Innocence
off
was the
portions
name
of
I was
it
looking
until
for
you
before.
bait the boss into detonating them himself with his
Let
thrown
me see.
spear.
Amped up.
When Uberified, these orbs are attached by a
Uberified.
flaming leash to
Hell
the
yeah,
boss,
baby.
rotating around him constantly. More and more will spawn as the fight goes on, making it even more imperative that you clean them up by cleverly using the boss's abilities against him. Normally in the incarnation of Dread fight, during the bullet hell phase, you have to acquire a red rose, run it to the boss, then collect a blue rose, doing the same, causing it to get heavy stunned and interrupting its mechanic. In the Uber version, you have to do the same, but in order to get the blue rose, you have to defeat the incarnation of Neglect, and to get the red rose, you have to defeat the incarnation of Fear. Good luck. Given the difficulty of
Guess
these
it was
bosses,
probably never touching
their
any of
rewards
these.
should be worth your while. Let's take a
I'm
look
not
at
a big
some.
Uber boss killer.
From the Uber incarnation of Neglect fight, we have Bitter Instinct, a spiky shield that turns retaliatory strikes into
Dude, the
preemptive
ads,
ones,
holy shit,
making it
Twitch.
just a matter of time before the long arm of justice crushes your foes. Alternatively, you might find Festering Resentment, a poisoned blade with an unending supply of toxins
Trigger a
built into
spell
the
when you
hilt.
block.
These toxins are put to good use, causing every spell you trigger to
Trigger
be capable of
spells.
poisoning with
Triggered
all
spell
damage it deals,
poison on a hit.
enabling a truly crazy trigger-centric poison ruckus.
All damage with triggered spells can
And from the
poison.
Uber
Damn.
incarnation of Dread, the Hallowed Monarch, a counterpart
Link
to the Dark
skills
Monarch,
can target
which
damageable
focuses
minions.
more heavily on investing
Oh.
into one or a few minions,
Your linked minions
rather
take
than
less
growing your hordes
damage.
to massive proportions. Storm Raycliffe,
And then it
with your
gives
chosen few at your
freaking
side,
Headhunter
stealing power from your enemies
to
as you go.
your linked minion.
We've got a number of quality
That's
of
pretty
life changes
sick.
to bring to 327 as well. Many of which you may have seen already in some of our pre-livestream teasers.
Body
but
of
for those who
life!
haven't,
Let's go!
Heist is a mechanic which has long frustrated some players
Yes.
who may otherwise have been interested in the rewards it has to offer, but have no desire to grind through the early progress of finding and running low-level contracts to get all of the rogues to their maximum level. Well, starting in 327, heist rogues will automatically begin at maximum level, so you can start your dubious criminal career without all the busy work.
I hope that also
Points
means that all the
invested
quest
into Atlas
items...
passive tree
I
will now
assumed
be
it meant the quest
refundable with
items
gold.
too,
Just
but I
speak to
pray
Craig
that
to
means
do
the
so.
quest items.
For players who love jumping between strategies, there's also
Refund
an option
all!
to instantly refund your entire tree, which
Let's
of course
go.
can now also be done with your regular passive tree as well.
I saw that
Now
already.
you can make all your
And the heist
decisions
one.
with no regrets. Well, maybe some regrets. You no longer need to purchase bestiary orbs.
I saw
You
this
can
one
now
too, yeah.
itemize beasts for free directly from your
This one's
bestiary.
great.
From late Act 1, you can now
I need
mass
my coffee.
identify your items at an NPC in every town, and from Helena in your hideout. This does not require Scrolls of Wisdom at all. While using an Alteration Orb, you can now hold Alt to swap to using an Augmentation Orb.
Love
If one
that.
is available. Opening a Blight Chest will now open all other Blight Chests near it. Rogue's disenchanting services can now be accessed from towns and hideouts.
Yep, that's good too.
Kerak missions
Let's go.
now have a handy icon to show at a glance what kind of mission they are. Holding down
All right.
Control and right-clicking on Stack Decks
I think
will
this
now
is everything I know about
continuously
after the
open
stack
them to
decks
your
here.
inventory, notifying you in chat what
What
the
else?
outcome is. If you still want to open them direct to the ground, to let your loot filter provide a dose of dopamine, you can still do that too by also holding Shift. Val Orbs can be used on monsters encased
Oh,
in
no, I knew
essences,
this one too.
to the same effect that Remnants of Corruption have. When multiple skill gems are ready to level at the same time, you'll now be able
I
to
saw
click
this too. Shit.
button to
I
level
saw a
them
lot of
all
this
up
already.
at once.
A lot of the quality of life that they already announced.
Next up, we're going to be talking about
No,
our new
where's
league
the
supporter packs.
WASD?
Today, we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs. The
There's
Champion of
the
Theopolis
WASD.
and the Verdant Magus packs. Each tier contains the pack's full face value in points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions.
That's pretty cool.
As always, the microtransactions in these packs are purely
Whoa.
cosmetic and do not affect your character's power or progression in any way. The Champion of Theopolis series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive
You
microtransactions.
can get a dick bull.
Manifest a Champion's Ferocity, as the Lion's Might unique finisher effect rips your enemies to shreds. Open the Champion of Theopolis portal to end your crusade through maps in the style expected of a true victor of the arena. Defeat your enemies like a true gladiator, wearing the Grand Champion of Theopolis armor set.
That looks okay.
The armor awarded only to the most elite warriors of the Grand Arena.
That looks kind of basic, honestly, to be honest.
Take
like
charge of the situation and storm into
2,
combat
1 color,
with the Flaming Minotaur's Quicksilver
Nothing
Flask
glowy,
effect.
nothing fancy about it.
The Champion's Podium map device rises up to honor the glory you've achieved as you activate it.
Ascend the stairs and stand atop the platform as you enter your maps. Each flame surrounding the platform represents a remaining use on your portal. The burden-back Billy Goat carries all the supplies necessary for a campsite as he travels behind you in battle. When placed in a hideout, instead of roaming around like your other pets, their supplies are deployed,
He just chills.
creating a small camp where you can access your stash and providing a place to take a load off while you rest next to the campfire. The Verdant Magus series contains 6 exclusive microtransactions.
Level
Having
effect.
Faustus sell your items on your behalf is great and all, but sometimes you just want to feel a little bit more shady about your dealings. The Back Alley Trader hideout decoration is more secretive with your trades, creating
fun.
distance between you and your customers. Note that until 327 is released, this Back Alley Trader will only serve as your currency exchange. Once it's out, it will be updated to have the new Managed Shop option to also facilitate your trades.
Okay.
The Verdant Wayfinder pet is a loyal companion to any Master Magus. As you
Little
approach
doggy.
waypoints, it envelops them with its vines, guiding you throughout Rayclast.
That's neat.
Control Earth and nature itself, as the great verdant Magus
That
armor set
skin looks
envelops
cool.
you in the
I
ancient
like that
power
one.
now lost to time.
Well,
There's
I think I know
also
what
a
supporter
matching
pack
back
I'd buy if I
attachment
was buying
included.
one. But guess what? I'm not, because there's no WASD.
Remnants of the
I don't know.
forest ripple
I
out
may
from
still
within
buy
you
one.
with the verdant Magus level up effect equipped, restoring life to the corrupted land. Call on an ancient golem to use their power to create a safe passage for you to retreat through with the arcane golem portal.
That's pretty cool, though.
As a supreme verdant Magus, you can travel to your arcane isle hideout. A cluster of islands held together by ancient magic passed down between elite mages. Stand atop your
That's
tower
neat.
and relish the great heights you've reached above those who have not harnessed the arcane.
So you need to do the $90
These
pack
packs
for
are
the
now
portal
available
effect,
for
though.
purchase
It's kind
on
of
both
unfortunate.
PC and console, and will remain so during Path of Exile, Keepers of the Flame. Additionally, any microtransactions from these supporter packs will be made available for use in Path of Exile 2. Meanwhile, the Crypt Keeper and Frisian Magistrate packs leave the store forever at the launch of the Keepers of the Flame League. So
Goodbye.
now's your last chance to purchase them. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. We're
That
just
map
about to
device
start
back
the
there looks
Q&A
pretty
with
cool,
Ziggy
though.
D. Afterwards, we'll post the full patch notes for Path of Exile, Keepers of the Flame at
Oh, shit.
11 AM New Zealand time, 3 PM Pacific. With release at the end of next week, our community team will be posting crucial information you'll need for the release. Keep an eye on the news. Thanks for joining us today and checking out our latest developments. We're looking forward to holding off the Breachlord's conquest, crafting gruesome grafts, planning dozens of Bloodline-empowered builds, and filling out our trees tree.
I missed
We
some of the
hope you
very
all
beginning
join
stuff,
us.
unfortunately. Kinda shitty. While I was setting up the stream, I did see a lot of, like, the spells being very caster-oriented, and some of them look like they were doing pretty good.
G'day Exiles and welcome to the post-reveal discussion and Q&A with Jonathan and Mark, lead guys who make games, I believe was what we discussed as the
Official
titles.
Lead
Yeah,
guys
official
who make
title.
games.
Yeah.
Excellent. I like it, it's good. We're talking about how to inflate their titles in the lead up to this. 327 Keepers of the Flame, the reveal we just had there was, I think, quite a banger, but I've been even more impressed with what I've been playing here in the office with some of that, so we'll get into that in a moment. But I'm curious, this is kind of like a special kind of reveal day for POE 1 fans, as I think it marks a return to schedule for us. You announced this plan to do the 4-month cycle for the games, two twos, and it seems to be working.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly hard. I'll tell you that, right? Like, it can be pretty brutal on some of the stuff when it's like, every 2 months you got a deadline. But yeah, I mean, look, we have to do it, right? Like, I mean, that was always the intention to get, the regular.
That's
schedule.
gotta
It's
be
super
pretty
important.
tough.
So we
I mean,
have
also-
to make it happen. We have to make sure that is something that we can do going forward.
They could just try
But
to do.
I would like. I'm honestly, I'm so happy that we managed
Do
to
staffs,
to get everything
like,
back, and I think
you know.
it helps a lot.
I think like things
That costs more
feel
money.
a lot less like crazy here this
Right,
this
right.
visit for me, like, and things seem a bit more of a finished state as well from what I've been looking
Right.
at. So
Well, we're putting a lot more effort into sort of getting that production process down, making sure that everything's, going well. Like, we're hiring producers at the moment, just by the way, in case anyone's out there just like looking for as a for a production job. It's something that we're really concentrating on, making sure that because when you've got a schedule like this, when it's this tight, you have to be really, really careful because, like, I would say one of the hardest things that we didn't expect, trying to make sure that we get the schedule this short, is you start to become really vulnerable to just like random things, like this person gets sick or like something like that, and that's like suddenly it's like a real challenge. That's been real hard to adapt to. But yeah, I mean, honestly, we have to do
Yeah,
it.
because POE 2's 030 kind of, we missed it by a week or two as well.
Yeah,
We're like, normally that's okay.
Yeah.
You slip a week or two, but now all of a sudden, now you got a bit 2 week more overlap with 327.
yeah.
And it certainly has less room for error. But again, that's why more production staff should help. And we are just going to get better at it.
yeah,
But yes, we made it to 326 and now 327. Mostly on schedule, give or take.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion,
but,
they're killing it compared to like other
and
games.
one,
and their
one was
patches
you could argue
and
one's an anomaly,
updates
two
and
is a
shit.
pattern. So hopefully, it should continue as normal. But yeah, we'll get better at 100%. So we'll work out the kinks, but it was always going to be some growing pains to going to 6 releases a year for both across both Path of Exiles. So.
Yeah, I remember thinking when you guys were doing 4 releases a year that was crazy. So 6 is pretty wild, but it seems to be happening. So fingers crossed it keeps happening. Is the contingency just that like occasionally you just might delay by a few weeks here?
I don't want to. I really want to be real strict about it. Like,
we said we'd stick to the time and adapt the content around the time. Like consistency is key. So hopefully we can keep doing that. That's still our current philosophy and plan. So yeah.
I think you were telling me once before, Jonathan, that when you have that for a while, it kind of helps everyone get an idea of like scoping a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, it helps with everything, right? It helps with the players just feeling the consistency. It helps with like developers. Like it's just overall.
I feel like they did pretty good with this one. Like 3 new Uber bosses gives the people that want in-game content, give them their end-game content,
real direct
a bunch of quality of life, so people want quality of life get that.
With stuff in POE 2, there's like definitely follow-ups there, but this is the actual first true sequel league, and it seems like people are pretty keen on the idea. I think the reception's been pretty good so far, first impressions. What are your guys' thoughts on doing
so they're considering it like a sequel league with it being like Breach?
Because I know people kind of...
I would say personally that so whenever you do a sequel, you're entering a dangerous territory because people who didn't like the original could then now be like, oh, I'm disappointed because as soon as they hear that it's a sequel to something they didn't like, they're like, it's not happy. So you could just be ruling out a bunch of people in your audience right away. Now, Breaches, I would say, is a pretty popular one, so like there's less danger there. Yeah. But effectively, in order to make a sequel to something, I think you really have to be doing something that had to be a real banger back when you did it, so that people actually, are definitely on board from the beginning. In general, I'd say we'd prefer to do stuff that's like new, but I think this one was a good fit. It was
what do you think I am at?
Something to do, and people are liking it, so
Is it my hair?
I mean, as Jonathan said, yes, like some leagues are more divisive than others. Some have more kind of X factor out there gameplay, with the whole Blight Tower defense, and some of them are more maps and a bit more crazy. And immediately you do turn off some people, and we know that going in. When we make these, we try and make it, something good for everyone. But Breach had that just like you're just slaying hordes of monsters. You're just killing. It's the classic. We talk about reinventing the wheel here. We talk about not reinventing the killing monsters in circles. And it has that. And by the way, that is a massive thing when doing the sequel is we must keep the killing monsters in circle. Because the last thing I want to do is, and this is another risk of a sequel, is take something that people love and then just ruin it. Right. We really focused on the weaknesses of what Breach had, because it was 9 years ago, almost to date, I think it was. I think it was December 9 years ago, so we're almost there. Yeah, just if you want to feel a bit old for a moment.
Breach came out.
I actually still remember working on it. It does not feel like it was that long ago.
Breach was one of my first
the 5
big
Breach swords back when,
that I
put together
really
the
made it to end game. Like there's been a few other leagues earlier than that.
What was I
but
doing?
a lot of the leagues before Breach, I'd either get 2 maps or almost get to end game at the time, and
it's not only been fun to come back and do a sequel,
and then I'd quit or play another character or something,
which is obviously a given. But
a lot before that, I played hardcore, so I didn't make it. Like a lot of times, I was a noob and kept dying,
all the lessons learned
and
from
wouldn't even make it
well,
that
and
far.
then coming
So
back and being like, what do we know now that we didn't know back then? And it's like, okay, let's not sabotage the gameplay, the killing of monsters, the killing monsters in a circle, and let's focus on the weaknesses. And so then we looked at, okay, well, nowadays, if we were to do a league, it generally comes with, some character power arc. You've got some crafting system. There's generally a meta system, and then that's where you get like the grafts, the Genesis tree, and all that stuff come in. And again, focusing on that, less of focusing on the combat mechanic this time around, because we kind of knew that was a success. You'll find that it might be less trivial with some of the other contents that's a little bit more like crazy with respect to combat. But we'll see.
I'm definitely eager to dive into like basically all of the things you mentioned there. But out of interest, what's like a league mechanic or a expansion that you either would or wouldn't want to sequel at some point? Like, what would be a bad example? Is maybe interesting.
Well, I think the one that you said
Tempest.
there, with the
Whatever
tower
that
defense
league-
stuff, it's
was
just
that
like,
whole league
that would be
itself?
very divisive, right? Immediately, if we said doing a sequel in POE 1 to that, there'd be immediately a bunch of people would be like, yeah,
I like Blight.
I know,
I
a lot of people
think
don't,
you'll
right?
get both ends of this. I think you'll get the most passionate people
Exactly,
wanting it,
right?
and then
Yeah,
you'll
yeah.
get the most people that hate it on the other side.
right.
For sure.
Yeah.
That being said, like, it isn't like, oh no, that means Blight's never getting improved.
Right.
There's differences between overhauling and improving a league,
Yeah.
and there's and obviously doing a narrative sequel where you kind of step away from some of it, and so really here it's like, yes, Blight, there's so many leagues, right? Insert all of them will get attention. Sometimes they'll just be quality of life, similar to what we've done with Heist this time round, because honestly that probably deserves more. And then other times it'll just be an upgrade.
It's crazy that one of the leagues they picked as a mechanic that's still in the game.
Oh yeah, we're just going to do sequels from now on. That we're definitely not. Like, I don't think it's going to be the most common thing. I think it's just a thing we decided to do here, and maybe we'll do it again sometime. But most of the time, I think people want new stuff and different new things.
I like the revisits. I wonder. There's definitely some lore and stuff I'd like to see expanded. Like, I feel like Harbinger, for example, touched on some stuff that was.
I really liked
scratching
Harbinger.
the surface.
Part of what allows us to do the sequel here, by the way, and from a more production point of view, is that because we did the Twisted Domain and the new Breach monsters in PoE 2.
Yeah.
We got to utilize the monsters. So we didn't take the bosses from PoE 2. We made full from scratch boss fights for this version for Keepers of the Flame. Cool. But for the monsters, a lot of it's reusing the models, the animations, the rigging, a lot of the art side of it. And because we get to do that, we get to then focus our attention on all those other things that we would otherwise have to have a bunch of resources dedicated to. So like there's a kind of like two birds, one stone going on there where we not only got to do it, we got to do it in a more cost-effective way that allowed us to focus on other features that are going in the expansion.
Look at your target audience, bro.
Win-win for players and for us in that regard, but it would be less trivial with other sequels or to other leagues where we don't necessarily have all the monsters.
Use your magical AI powers to
not to say it's impossible.
just look at my hair and
it's
determine
just
that.
an interesting factor that came
don't
up that
need
allowed us
pads.
to do more here than we might. If we don't forward think enough or forward plan enough, and I mean quite far in advance, because like making these full monsters from scratch is not a short term process. We might not be able to do for some other leagues. So, just a kind of fun internal kind of consideration that we made.
Well, like an interesting thing here as well with the fact that
Yo, I'm
Breach is
so
in
excited to play
PoE 2. I
this.
don't normally get into lore, so lore warning, but I'll try and keep it as oversimplified as possible because I definitely have delved into the deep end of the lore of this stuff. But so to simplify it, PoE 1, Chayula, baddie, we fight them. They're like the pinnacle boss from the first game, and yet in PoE 2 they're like explicitly not there as part of the boss of that, and also there's this lore kind of exploring the idea that they helped humanity at some point. So I'm curious if this expansion is kind of filling out the story in the in-between here, maybe explaining some of the stuff.
It 100% is. That was a huge other win we got to do here, because really there was like, okay, there's the breaches in PoE 1, previous to Keepers of the Flame, and then there's kind of breaches in PoE 2 with the Twisted Domain, and it's like, wait, how did we get here? What happened? Okay, so it's 25 years. What's going on here? So we wanted to. Given again, because 9 years ago we weren't really putting that much into the narrative of leagues and into you'd find back then we're not far from Onslaught League back then, right? It was just 20% of some stats. So, and even when we had Anarchy, there was Exiles, but like there's there's main characters, but we didn't really have voice acting for anything. Like we've kind of stepped up our game in a lot of delivery of that. So now we get to come back and go, let's establish a bit more about Breach. Obviously, there's uniques and flavor texts historically, but yeah, we got to establish a little bit more, add some interesting stuff to it. Meanwhile, also, progressing the narrative towards what if people are playing PoE 2 see. Now, that being said, if you just play PoE 2, you don't need to know all of this. If you just play PoE 1, good on you. You now know it all. It's all entirely optional information to know, but you kind of have this. Worth noting, on the kind of Chiola arc, there's a bit of like, is he good, is he bad kind of thing going on. Still to be determined, at least for the players.
I've got a cult
We've-
following, but that doesn't necessarily mean one way or the other, does it?
You know, like he was a baddie here. You're an acolyte of Chiula over there.
Yeah.
What goes on in between?
Even-
But
I was reading the flavor text of the Acolyte of Chula this morning. I'm like, even that doesn't really kind of suggests that maybe it's not a good idea to be following them, but but there's power.
like the monastery of the Keepers of the Flame is actually where the monk trained and from POE 2 grew up and all of that stuff. So kind of little fun bits there. People playing both games will appreciate it. It's still great. It's going to be great in either game, and it allows us to develop. So because look, they're both set in Ray class, it's still a shared narrative, and it's nice to be able to like evolve all of that. And it's it's honestly been fun, really, honestly doing all of that.
It's cool. It's cool to expand kind of like some of the story of the Ascendancies there as well. Like you're getting a bit more of a tie in there as well. But you said the monks trained there, though. I thought you were just telling me earlier that the monks trained here in the studio. What's
Yeah, so technically now, officially, the monk has been trained by one of our IT administrators here. Since that was the
Weird skin next to my nose.
I'm not sure what the martial art is, but you know he's very well trained. I believe a black belt, and we used him for our mocap reference.
That's so cool.
Hopefully he doesn't mind me mentioning that, but you know it's
Awesome.
quite fun. I think our animators enjoyed that one a little bit as well. So
That's awesome. I don't. You guys hadn't really done too much of that in the past, or
You mean mocap?
yeah, like
I mean, the
stuff?
animators always film visual references. So, like, I mean, they've got a
Yeah.
room basically where they go up and they're just, like doing all the animation, acting out. They're often not actually mocapping technically with like all of the suit and everything, but they're often filming that and then doing animation to it. So
Yeah.
it's pretty common.
I'd say one of the most useful pieces of technology that we've been able to benefit from is it's a literally single phone shot mocap and
Yeah.
very quick from recording to in-game animation. It works really well for animating obviously humans, but
helps.
also for when it's involving just a single human. It's like ultra quick. Like if you have two and they have to interact and make contact, it's not very good at handling that. But it's been insanely fast. So you just get a single small tripod with a phone, and you can record a human and chuck it in game pretty rapidly.
Damn.
So that's been amazing,
really
and
cool.
honestly, almost all of the human animations you'll now see in game, where it's not someone punching or hitting another person. So like, it's not the best for combat and kind of scripted cinematic interactions between characters, but just those kind of freestanding town idols and all of that stuff, yeah, you can do pretty rapidly now. It's been a pretty big improvement, I'd say, in a cool way. So
Yeah, and I mean, you're getting like POE2 quality stuff in Path of Exile 1 as well. Like, I've definitely seen things like that's a lot more going on there than there usually is in POE 1. You were just talking about the fact that the original bosses were just exiles with extra color filters on them, right?
I mean, everything new that goes into POE 1 like has been a lot higher standard than some of the early stuff for a
Yeah.
very long time, right? Because it's not like you have people being like, oh, you know what, I'm going to make this worse quality because it's going in POE 1. Like, obviously they're going to make something look as good as we can make it, right?
Our artists are
everything-
artists,
Yeah, exactly,
They
right?
just
So
make
I mean,
the good
anything you
quality
can
art.
make.
You could probably phone it in a bit more, I reckon.
They don't. No, an artist doesn't want to do that, right? They
No,
want to make stuff
fair.
that's good. So
Who wants to do that?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
appreciate
It's a
that
quick way
mindset.
to remove their job satisfaction.
Right.
Make bad stuff.
Yeah.
It's too good. Yeah, fair enough. So you mentioned the sanctity of the kill monster in Circle. So on the mechanical front, I noticed that there's actually two distinct types of breaches here. There's very much close to the original one, but then there's this hive one. What are the differences between the two, and how do
So
they work?
we've got 4 encounters total. At the more common one is the kind of what we're saying is the hive. So the breach have come through those the hand portals. They've stabilized the breach and are now building their hives. And so you'll come across there's heaps of walls and constructs and some half organic, half inorganic.
That's kinda
and you
cool.
get the little spider things, which I think
I
is
didn't see the
Twitch
start
drop
of
for
this,
the
so I didn't see
stream.
the mechanic very much.
You get those and they're kind of building and they're like putting together like molecule by molecule building these hives. And that's the one where you come in and you get given the power of the Keepers of the Flame, and that can just incinerate away all of the material, and you're kind of just like running around pretending to be a Righteous Fire build for a
I'll
moment.
just note as well, like you don't have to click any doors or like
yeah,
jump
no, no,
into
no,
any
no, no,
walls.
run through.
They just evaporate before
You just run around. You
Oh,
run around
so
burning
good.
stuff. It's kind of satisfying. You
Nice.
see ash going everywhere. There's a couple things going on there. So generally when you get to the center, you summon an Aelith, you start the encounter. And effectively just kill a whole bunch of monsters they're trying to get to her, they're trying to kill her. they're not super effective at it. We're not doing the whole like they are persistently wanting to aggro on her. They're gonna try and kill you. That's honestly more of an immersive flavor thing than it is like meant to be too interruptive of a mechanic or anything like that. Again, because I wanted to just keep killing monsters being the primary focus.
But there is a thing where the more walls you burn, the more
there's amongst all the walls you can get these like spawners, these like hive portals, where the monsters can then come through. So if you want to activate more to have more monsters, have more difficulty and get more reward, you want to burn as many of those hive spawners as possible, and then they will turn into portals once the fight begins. If you just want to run to the center, start the fight, do the fight, and leave, go for it. The other thing here is, though, that, of course, obviously this can be a bit of a clear, speedy thing where it's like, So, during those encounters, using the power of the purple flame, these kind of purple flames scatter out, and each of them kind of has a skill attached, just like an oh shit button. And so like if you're getting overwhelmed, there's like different things you can just click if you wanted to, if you needed to. Most powerful characters, you'll be fine. Just as it kind of like will send out a giant nuke and clear stuff, or like create this like flame wall and anything that runs into
That's kind of cool.
And that's honestly more to help out players that are kind of struggling or on the weaker end and aren't like, able to kind of keep up with it. So it just normalizes the difference between bottom end and top end a bit.
I like that.
Again, not meant to be intrusive, not
really
meant
neat.
to be like complicated. We kept it simple, and it's just like 99% of it.
I mean,
just
when you boil it down, it's basically just like a fast-paced wave defense. Like, just survive 6-8 waves of
Pretty
monsters
much,
that are rushing at you pretty fast, and but it doesn't have that same clear speed pressure that your like basic one has.
Yeah. So that's one encounter. Second encounter is like the traditional breach, the one that players have, historically been playing. You activate a thing, the breach expands out. So these are breaches that haven't been stabilized yet.
Yeah.
So they haven't come through to build their hive. So you activate it, it starts expanding, you kill all the monsters, it's revealing, and then once you've killed enough, and if you can kill enough, like it can be kind of hard early game, but like towards end game, that's your goal. You'll notice a progress bar filling up, and once the breach gets to the end, that means that it will become stable. And so what was going to happen is when it becomes stable, the breach are going to send through their like difficult monsters, their elites, their enforcers, their front line to come through and secure the area so they can send through their like little worker spiders to start building their hives. So this is like a yet to be a hive, and so you don't witness all of that. Generally, what you do experience is you kill enough monsters, and then in the center the portal activates, and a bunch of monsters and often a boss floods through, and so now you have to go back to the center and fight all that, kill everything, defeat the boss, get the loot, and then everything drops then and there once you successfully do that. If you can't do it, run away. That's up to you. You can still play it the old way if you want and like not get so much rewards, just kill as many as you want and move on. But generally speaking, you'll want to go back to the middle. You want to kill the either waves of hordes of monsters coming through the portal or the boss that spawns.
That like locks open then once you reach that stabilization point.
Yeah, it locks open the time. Yeah, so that's another good thing. Yeah, so the existing breach, I mean, obviously it's pretty outdated and even imbalanced, and often people were killing the breach lords, the wild ones, in like a matter of seconds. But I wanted to make sure that boss fight didn't have a time condition. So once it stabilizes, that's it. You just once you kill them, it closes. You have infinite time to kill that boss and fight those monsters. You're not like, oh my god, I gotta do it. So like it is a more substantial.
Your time constraint to get the boss to spawn.
It's like it almost like you created your own arena. You've got like a nice clear area where you can fight that boss and.
But then
on
once he spawns, you have infinite time.
Now he has minions in a regard, so obviously it's not just one-on-one, but that mechanic's like quite cool. So that's the like Varun, the Marshal of Zesht fight. He has some specific drops. You generally want to kill him. And then, so that's encounter number 2. And then, encounter number 3. I know who's going on a bit of a thing here, but these next to a bit quicker. Encounter number 3 is the kind of sky fortresses you saw. It's very similar to the first fight. It's kind of like, oh, we didn't stop this hive. Some of these hives have been getting built for weeks or whatever, and now they're like, full giant mega structures. So you climb the beanstalk, as I called it, the breach beanstalk. Nice. You get up to the sky fortress, cool. And honestly, it's kind of just like a map of breach monsters.
There's no timer.
Clearing through. No timer at this point. You can just clear the area and leave.
It sounds like it's going to be like an
taking your
abyssal
rewards
depths
with you,
sort of
but
thing,
in
right?
the center is a like
You're
the
probably
hive
going into
encounter,
a
the very
portal, but
first
it's like
one,
climbing
like
it
a
being stuck.
wave-based
I'm guessing you don't
encounter.
actually like
It's just a
climb
lot
up to
more
a big
epic,
structure
and,
like
you
all on the
have
same
to,
map.
you know, the same
guessing
exact
there's a load
thing,
screen.
except Aelith's like, yeah, it's going to take a lot more explosive power
Like I
to
said, I
destroy
missed
the
the
rest of
beginning.
this hive and seal this portal, so you might want
So I
to
didn't
get out
get
of
to
here.
see the
So
example.
generally speaking, yeah, once you've killed all the waves, you then have to get out of the area before Aelith burns the entire thing to the ground.
Cool.
Normally you can survive that, not in this case. You might want to get out of there. Once you do, you get all the loot. Sweet. You're not going to get that encounter too frequently, but, you know, it can be a little bit of fun, a little bit more action-packed when you're trying to escape. And then the fourth encounter is pretty similar to that, except it's just an area with your pinnacle boss, your in-game boss fight at the end of it.
And you basically didn't show those in the trailer, because I did know that people were like wondering why you showed kind of so much of the Uber bosses for the regular content, but you didn't really show any of these guys.
We generally avoid showing bosses for sure, especially new ones. I'll you know, you get a silhouette of it, a single emerge shot, and yeah, for sure. Like for the Ubers, we're like, well, they've got like 10, 15 skills each. Let's show one mechanic we've changed of each, you know? Maybe not the best option. Like, I know people like their full mystery, so like maybe lesson learned in the future might just show nothing. But yeah, we only did show
I mean,
one
if they
of
only
all of
showed
their
like
skills that have
one of the
changed,
15
just so people get a
skills, I
general
don't think it's
grasp
that
of
big of
how
a
they're
deal.
changing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I probably, given the feedback, I'm probably just not going to show those again. So,
Fair enough.
you know, we'll let it be a mystery. But yeah.
So this skill tree, you actually did it. You made a skill tree. Well done.
The tree.
But this tree is quite fascinating because it's not just a like a meta progression system for the league or something. Like there is that, it is progressing, but it is a crafting system. It's a tree that is a crafting system, and from messing around with that, like it feels kind of brilliant. Like this is a really good idea.
I
didn't get to see that either.
It was kind of a
They're
mixture
talking about all the
from,
shit I didn't get to see. I want to see it.
Octavian.
I need to go back and watch the start of that.
Me and him and kind of Andrew, we all kind of just came up with ideas. But I think the original tree that spawns items or grows items and then hatches items came from Octavian, and the grafts, mind you, as well. He's got a
He's cooking.
nice creative brain on that
he's
one.
down.
Comes up with some cool ideas. I like, you know, that kind of out there style of design, which is good. And so eventually we took that kind of idea. I was the one who brought Breach to the table and was like, oh, we can unify these. And that came from a interesting thing where in the Twisted Domain in POE 2, you get these, you have these trees made of hands that the environment artists made. And I really love them. And I'm like, normally because you're on a timer in that area and you're going hard, you're fighting monsters, you don't really get to appreciate a lot of the art assets in there.
Zoom.
And I was like, wow, damn, I want to use those trees, but have them, because I think they're petrified in that version. So it's like, what does that look like when it's a bit more alive, a bit more organic, a bit more gross? We kind of came up with this tree, and you know, tree that hatches items, and it has this fruit, and then we were like, nah, like I don't want just a tree that has fruit. It needs to be gross and dark and horror. You know, it's like this is a gothic world, and so yeah, we obviously went a little bit more crazy with the theming on it all. But I like it, right? It is dark. It's like a little. You've got this alien-esque demon species, right?
It's like squeezing the items out, like, with a bunch of pus.
Yeah, it kind of came like that, and then it's like, wow, it needs a meta progression. The good thing about the tree having a passive tree is we get to reuse all the same code that our passive trees use, and then the other, because it's good because then you don't have to make a completely bespoke system. And again, it's picking your battles, being able to focus more on what the nodes do as opposed to the underlying system.
I think what's pretty interesting about it though is the way that like it actually for crafting is quite interesting how it sort of encapsulates the idea that you've got like various dependent choices. You don't normally think about crafting in that way, but that's really what crafting is. And so it kind of like means that it's actually a surprisingly natural interface for crafting. Like, it works. It works really well. And so, yeah, that's kind of a pretty interesting one. I don't think I've ever seen it before. Someone doing anything quite like that. So
yeah, like I've seen some crafting trees and stuff, but they're usually separate or there's like some little bit. But yes, like that's what I was thinking, because I'm thinking a lot about like how do you communicate crafting, because it's a pretty complicated thing generally, even in its simplest in Path of Exile. But this does seem to have like a very natural more understandable way of communicating it because you're allocating the nodes for the craft. You get to see the structure of your craft in a visual manner, which I'm like,
It is cool.
So,
And how did we go this? So we've got multiple character trees. We've got
I'm excited to see that
world
tree,
area
like
trees.
a visual
Is this
of
the
it.
first
It sounds
crafting
cool.
tree?
Well, kind of. There was the one with the items. I don't even remember the name.
There was
of it
the
anymore.
there was the
Crucible.
Yeah, the Crucible
yeah.
one.
yeah. Oh,
wasn't
that
really,
was
like,
that was
crafting,
that was
yeah.
items having trees. That
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
a
a
tree
little
to
different.
craft.
Yeah,
It was an
yeah.
item
You could
growth
kind
system,
of
yeah.
argue Scourge is like the whole microwave mechanic, kind of. But it wasn't really a tree. It was like a grid. It was
I didn't play
different,
much of
so-
Scourge League.
I don't know. It might be our first true
But I heard it was
crafting
really
tree.
good.
It's like I just
kinda forgot
can't
that
help
league
but wonder.
existed.
Like we'll see, I guess, after a league. But I just can't help but wonder if you like accidentally stumbled upon one of the potential solutions to like how do you communicate crafting to players because it's so hard to do. It's like I don't know, maybe this has applications elsewhere. This idea.
We'll see how it goes, and there's a lot to expand on here, of course. Like when you have these kinds of tree systems, and immediately people are going to be like, oh, keystones and where's my crafting tree notables and masteries and jewel slots.
My cluster
Oh, no.
jewels for my crafting tree.
Yeah, build your own crafting tree.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes, but obviously that depends. We don't want to overcomplicate it off the bat, so you come in with something kind of simple, elegant, see how it works, see how people respond to it, and then if things go core, because we always like to decide based on how the players respond, we can evaluate how we want it to be, if we want to change it, if we want to leave it as is, if we want to, so we'll do all that. But yeah, it's cool. I like a lot of the ideas coming here with that, with that and the grafts and stuff like that. There's some pretty crazy cool things.
So talking about like the idea of preserving some of the stuff from the old breach or what's not being kept. So you had the old breach lord domains. They're effectively being replaced or removed here.
So those are all we've kept. Breach 1, I don't know what you'd call it, fully intact on standard.
Really?
Whereas on this league, it's the full Breakwall Keepers of the Flame mechanics. So full
Breakwall.
replacement. None of that is there in the current, while playing in Keepers of the Flame. Like, all of the breach nodes on the Atlas tree are gone, and all that. So you've got the current league. Obviously, our intention is that it goes core, but we'll take the better elements of it. One interesting thing here is obviously we still have all the old stuff. So if we miss the mark on some things, it's still there. We can bring it back. We can integrate it. We can, obviously it would suck, to have to accept that we have to keep using all the old art and old mechanics and old fight to some degree. But like, if they're more fun, they're more fun. We're not necessarily here in the business of taking away things that people loved. So
That's
obviously
how
I'm
game
pretty confident in what
development
we've
should
got is
be.
gonna be
Doo-dah,
amazing. And as you
doo-dah.
said, first impressions pretty positive. So. But worst comes to worst, if we have to take the best of both worlds and merge them, then that's still what we're going to do. Now that being said, so yes, you don't have breach domains in Keepers of the Flame. You got all those new mechanics I described earlier. But that isn't to say there isn't a future where we have a prequel to the prequel, and we have or an update,
prequel to the
not
prequel.
necessarily another sequel. But you bring back some of those things that were good about it. So immediately I can see people coming to mind. Oh, but what about the uniques or the rewards? We have kept all of that. All of that can be spawned from the tree. Cool. You can grow pretty much all of it. You can find. I won't reveal exactly how to do that. You can figure that out.
Yeah, nice.
But you can generally
Good.
get all of the
So the
historic
uniques didn't
rewards
go away.
from Breach from the new mechanic as well. We've tried to keep all of that.
Does this mean breach rings finally get a revamp after sitting there with their silly thing? That
Yeah, well,
no
they
one
got
uses?
their improvement in POE 2, so we had already accepted that having a double effect while in breach, especially given that's only useful some small percentage of the time generally, not good enough. So yes, the breach rings have been reworked.
Good.
I believe the implicits
Breach rings
are
were a
all
little rough
max res
before.
of the corresponding element types. I can't remember. What Fizz one is, whatever, we'll deal with that. But I believe it also restricts or constrains the mods you can roll in it. So it's like Zoff rings, fire mods, etc.
Oh, I'm tired
That's
today.
interesting. The unique crafting as well looked pretty wild. Like, I was pretty excited to see that. I expected it to be like it would remove a modifier and then just replace it with like a random rare modifier or something. But it seems like they're actually handmade modifiers, like there's bespoke modifiers, and even multiple, like those 2 Quill Rain ones. Is this just like a long list of them? And surely you can't do 1,000 uniques worth of those. Like,
I actually don't know what number they got to, but effectively it was just like, we'll just go until we run out of time.
Damn.
But yeah, like, there's just a whole bunch of uniques. It is a here's the list of mods that it can
Cool,
lose.
so you can get some
Here's the
uniques
list
with
of mods
different
it can be
mods, too.
replaced with on a per unique basis. Yes. Again, not all the uniques. I almost assure you it won't be the majority. And obviously, you're not going to be getting pinnacle boss uniques from here and stuff like that. Those are restricted to things that have specific drop locations. But yeah, that being said, it is a list. It would suck to, lose the key mod on an item. So generally speaking, we don't allow like what gives that unique full identity
that's good.
to be removed. A lot of it can be either the fluff stats, sometimes the downsides, some stuff like that. So yeah, we'll just kind of see what happens there. If people love that, it would be the thing where we can add more and more and more and more, and then eventually we will have the entire unique pool covered. So we'll just see how that goes, but
wild.
it's kind of fun.
You love to see it. So the other thing was these creepy arms that you can grow on yourself. I love that. We just, here, have an arm. Sure. Just plug it into your back. Why not? I mean, we were shoving rusty bits of metal in ourselves and stuff before, so why not continue with that? But these are like, it was in the video, but I didn't really like kind of understand kind of how impactful they'd be until I was messing around with it, especially for leveling. But these are like pretty major skills and an extra layer, because especially so there's 16 of them, and you can have 2 of them, and they're like a mixture of auto casting skills, proc based things, so like on attack or something, and manually cast in some cases as well. Like I had 20.
I came in
crazy.
I was setting my stream while the skill thing
seem
was going on, so I kind of missed it.
Significant. What's kind of like the plan for how impactful you want these to be, or like, especially at endgame, like they'll definitely like very impactful while leveling.
Obviously, there's always going to be a spectrum of usability. Generally speaking, yeah, they're going to be pretty powerful. But you know how strong characters can get. They can generally outclass everything. That being said, for a long way, they're going to be pretty damn useful. And even beyond then, there's generally can scale the difficulty of the game like hectically. You'll notice like something I think you observed as well. The numbers on the skills are like out of control.
Yes.
That is because they don't scale with your stats.
Yeah.
Obviously, it debuffs on the enemy. Anything you debuff on them does. But yeah, they don't scale with your increases. The reason for that is that I wouldn't want it to be that if you're a spellcaster, you have to use one that's doing a spell, because you generally focus on increases. And I didn't want it to be that, now in order to benefit from grafts, you have to really only invest in global damage increases and stuff like that. It would restrict the character builds too much. So we made them not scale with your character stats. Obviously, again, as said, if you reduce the resistances of the enemy, then the enemy takes more damage, that kind of stuff. But yeah, there's a kind of a lot of them that vary from utility through to just like pure offensive power. They all also just come with stats. So, and yeah, as you said, if you didn't want to, like, there's ones where you use skills and you can use that tactically. You can merge that with some of your abilities, or if you just want to, effectively let it autocast. There are versions for that as well. If you just can't be bothered, that's also fine. And honestly, at the worst comes to worst, at the end of the day, they still kind of just give some mods, and that's fine. And they are obviously used to, if you want to get one that just like specializes in harvesting more graft blood, that's also a thing you can do, because those systems are linked. Like the grafts do gain the graft blood, which is what you give to the Genesis tree to give the item. So there's kind of a nice interlink between. I
mean, they should really be replacing the power that you previously got from mercenaries, right? Like if the league needs to give you something that's going to fit in that power curve, so therefore you can look at it in a similar.
They are mercenaries on your back.
Yeah, in a way you could say that. Yeah.
That's cool. So if you overpower the skills, you can end up using one that generates you more of the blood from the tree, rather than that helps you with power in the field. Maybe
mercenaries has informed this somewhat. Then it seems.
Sadly, you can't gear your arms.
No,
can't put items
can't put a bunch of rings on.
Tell your arm to hold a sword. That would have been kind of fun though.
That would be pretty cool. The way Octavian explained the graphs to me was, he said they're not you, and I'm like, somehow that's really creepy to hear. It's like they're attached to you, but they're not a part of you. That was explaining the scaling. Like that's why they don't scale with your stats, because they're not you.
They're independent life forms and therefore don't benefit from your passive tree.
We didn't do this, but we had a desire to do unique ones, which I thought was kind of going to be fun. We might do this later, like going core, we'll do it, but we're like, what if you, and I think it was Octavian's like, what if you had a leg growing out of your back? What does that mean? And I was like, what if you had like a good jacked quadrilla arm or something? Because I was like, you can just have unique ones where they have like just like deformations, and you can have like random, deformed crazy things going on, or like I think I had a design. I was like, what if there was one that was like converted? You're like, I don't care about the league. It converts all graft blood to gold or something, and it's a kind of like cursed pirate treasure arm or something. And we'll see if that goes somewhere later. But I think that could be kind of fun to play around with. So
there's definitely some sort of like biomutant kind of combining of limbs and genetics and stuff potential here, maybe.
Later mechanic, right? Like nice to have these things you can expand on.
So it looks like you can synergize with them, but you don't necessarily scale them directly, like you're saying. You can debuff enemies and things like that. While we pan down to some of our additional questions, I've been noticing some that get mentioned a lot in chat that we'll kind of transition over to briefly. So WASD gets mentioned a lot, like if that's something that's planned for Path of Exile 1, if it's feasible, what goes into
so
that.
in order,
it's a pretty big deal.
In order for WASD to happen in POE 1, we need to get the rigs from POE 2. In order for that to happen, we need to finish moving all the microtransactions over, which has definitely been a bit of a slow task that we kind of need to get through. And so effectively it would be like, we do want to do that at some point, and then after that point we can make WASD for POE 1. But yeah, it's just a question of getting through all that work, and then we can do it. Like, I'm not against it.
Sounds like a while.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I want it to happen. It's just getting all those things moved over to the new rigs is the limiting factor.
Yeah, and you want it to be kind of reaching a certain threshold, it seems like, of quality.
Well, I mean, so yes, you can do it. You can do it
like
just like where the character just rotates.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that gets like that. The quality of that is really not great. Like, I don't think it feels good. So yeah, I kind of want to make do it with the proper rigs that we get. And look, that would be so beneficial to everything anyway. Like, we're highly motivated to do that because it means that we don't have to rig a bunch of stuff for the old rigs anymore, which a bunch of artists would definitely appreciate. So yeah, like we will get that done, and then but yeah, it's going to take a while. Like, it could be quite a while.
The biggest benefit from the rigs is just that we're going
to almost said like a year or two. I think there's something who's
a lot more new skills
about to come out of his mouth.
One as well that actually
he decided was going to give a time frame.
New animations.
Probably a good idea.
It's not going to be an absolute nightmare to try and make. So that's going to be epic when we actually get to that point and can just be like, okay, floodgates open, let's go and make a whole bunch of new skills that are using new animations. Because you'll notice, even though we have a bunch of new skills in this patch, it's all using the existing animations and different like means of delivering it. So generally speaking, we have kind of your spell projectile, spell AoE, spell buff. They're kind of separated into all these categories.
Yeah.
And so when you generally do a buff, you just use the buff one, and AoE use AoE one. But as a result, we don't have like just like cool bespoke things where you I don't know, do a flip while doing doing crazy stuff like that. We're not going to be able to really get that in PoE 1 just because the cost is insane to animating that. You got to do that on 7 different characters, 7 different rigs
with all the different weapon sets.
Yeah, with every single weapon set. And because generally PoE 1 doesn't have like as much restrictions on the weapons to skill association, it would you'd be like, it's not great. It's really not great, and it would be like the cost of doing that would mean we'd have to do so much less other stuff. So yeah, I mean, just a random tangent on why the rigs would be beneficial as well. Like, immediately I'm just like, oh my god, please, I want to do new skills that are like.
But we will do it. We will do it eventually. It's just porting all those stuff.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting insight that you even plan to kind of bring this like PoE 2 rigging system over to PoE 1 for animations and things like that, because that indicates that the future of Path of Exile 1 is not like very static visually. Like, obviously we're seeing new stuff getting ported back, but potentially a lot of stuff getting remade and updated, and like PoE 1 is anticipated to change a lot in that regard over time.
Well, I mean, yeah, it just like if for no other reason that it makes our lives easier, we need to do it. But yes, it will have the side effect of making the game look better too, which I guess is good.
So another thing I saw mentioned in chat quite often was like asking for Trial of the Ancestors and what's the plans or status of that.
I mean, we want to do it. That ultimately is just a resource thing again. It's like it's one of those ones that it can't be 1-to-1. It was too gameable, too solvable. Like got to a point where it was like this is the strat you do. We need to like fix a bunch of stuff with it. It's not out of the question. It's honestly just a like.
Wait, what do they mean by Trial of the Ancestors?
It comes up all the time. It's like, oh, we could do this, all this. What do we? And it's always going to come at a cost to something, and it just has been so far. You know, at least 326, 327 that we've wanted to make sure that we had other priorities. I guess it's safe to say. So TBD. Who knows? You know, well, these every single time we don't like plan too far in advance with this stuff. So generally, when we are at the next league or the next 2 leagues worth of discussions, it's like we have a list of things that we could do. It's in that list. I'm sure it'll come up at some point. So we'll see.
Feel free to be coy about this, but it seems like since something similar is occurring in Path of Exile 2, that might help you kind of like solve some of these questions for POE 1. Maybe that gives people an idea of the time frame.
Well, as I said once, if obviously there's a could do with respect to POE 2, but if we manage to go down that route, we get to do the exact same thing we did with Breach here, which is that if we have all the monsters made, you know, and a lot of art made, and a lot of encounters, so even if it doesn't appear the exact same way, it'll allow us to do a massive shortcut, which would mean that all of a sudden it is way more possible to add as a feature without having to.
Oh, the Ancestors might have been a league you guys skipped or something.
I can see that. All right, let's talk endgame. And
they were talking about bringing that like mechanic in or something.
Tier 17 modifiers, modifier design, their addition to memory strand maps, risk scarabs, and map modifier effect. So I list all these things out because they all come together to form a bit of a tangled mess of late endgame. And I'm just curious, like, before we even get into like what people are asking or what people are saying about it, I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on this topic, I guess, of tier 17 modifiers and their impact on late endgame.
I mean, the main thing I'd say there, like just as an overall view on it, is that like T17s, there's this tension between, like, it is not a good place to be when there's a tension between what players are enjoying and what the thing we want to try and do is. Like, that's like a problem that needs to be resolved. So effectively, it's like, what T17s are supposed to do in theory is something that we want, which is to say, like, you know, that like you get something that you don't necessarily like want to have to play against, and like, you know, like you have to actually, and you have to deal with it or come up with a way to get around that. But in practice, players don't want to do that, so there's something clearly wrong here. So something does need to change, but it's a little bit tricky to come up with something that we want to, like, that both sort of satisfies our desires for, like, you know, like interesting challenges that are different each time that you play them. That like all the, you know, there's like, you know, new and interesting things you encounter, but yet also something that players actually like. So there's a problem for sure.
So what is your desires for tier 17 maps? Like, what do you want?
Well, as I said, I don't think it's necessarily the desire for T17s as such. It's more the desire that you have, like, you know, like interesting combinations of mods happen, and they're like, oh, this is a new challenge I have to rise to, you know, and like, how am I going to deal with this, and that kind of stuff. And like, that's something that like in practice players aren't like really liking. So as I said, there's a problem here for sure. It's just a question of how we kind of
100%. They're not in the right spot.
Yeah,
I am
of the like, cold. We need to go back to the drawing board a little bit here, because like we, and to be fair, we are like trying to band-aid it, but we can only do that for so long. We kind of just need to reinvent something here a little bit. Like they were intended to be the penultimate bosses that allow you to do the Ubers.
Right, yeah.
But they're also now, you know, also this non-sustainable map, and where you have to, obviously a lot of people feel like they have to trade for it, and then in the other cases you've got a bunch of modifiers people hate. You've got this like thing where because of the mods you end up devolving down to the in-game strat becomes, as you said, stacking map mod effect and modifiers via risk. And it's like, it's not fun. It's not ideal. We tried to narrow the gap with T16 and a half, so that kind of worked, and then you get some other weird problems where like, because those can be APROP corrupted and tier 17s can't. There's some weird issues there as well. And honestly, it's like, it is a kind of mess. And we intend to keep band-aiding it until we can drawing board, but I would expect you'd probably see a pretty
I think it needs a full redesign.
Yes.
It needs a full redesign to try and see if we can come up with a way to both achieve what we're hoping to achieve, but also make the players not dislike it, right?
So is this maybe like separating out what you're trying to do with the tier 17 modifiers and what you're trying to do with this penultimate like boss thing that is like the lead up to the Ubers?
That is a split at the very least.
Okay.
I don't think that we've worked out exactly how this can
We're
work.
gonna switch it.
I don't think that like the best, most rewarding content in the game should also be the tickets to the Ubers, and in that even that's like broad and sounds weird when you first say it, but
it's
like
so hard because
it's kind of, you know what I mean, where it's something's wrong.
There's a fundamental tension with you want the hardest content in the game to be the most rewarding.
Yeah,
but like the moment you do that, there's all sorts of incentives that come into play that mean that people don't like it when like there's a map now that you can't run because the mods are not good for you and that kind of stuff. And like, so then there's also, it's a problem.
It's a little bit of a mess of problems.
It's a problem.
Any individual part of this I look at, I'm like, well, this is actually okay in some circumstances.
Right.
Like, it's okay for there to be some modifiers, maybe
Right.
Like, I think you guys feel the same. Where it's like, it's okay for there to be some modifiers that are like better for other builds.
But in the
worse for
moment that
others.
it's like, it
But
feels like
I haven't done a ton of
penalty
T17 maps.
So the
you're
economy
immediately
kind of
like you're immediately kind of.
A lot of times I sold them just for currency.
Scarabs, and then it's like, okay, only Trickster and Juggernaut can play it as a way of its perceived.
I haven't played a lot of
We
POE
are
kind of
changing a
since
lot of
they
these
came
variables,
out.
by
Like
the
I
way.
played
We're
a
not just
bit
leaving it for
in some
327.
leagues with
We are changing
T17's
Risk
out.
Scarab. We are changing some stuff around map mod effect. We are changing.
Good, nice.
You know, there are bits and pieces changing. I'm not going to stop band-aiding just because we have a grand plan for the future. Well, we have an absence of a grand plan, a desire to have a grand plan for the future. But we will. I would be very surprised. I know I shouldn't be promising content in the follow expansions because variables always change, but I'll be very surprised if we don't do a more drastic shift in 328 to solve this problem, because it's now long enough that it's not worth it. So obviously, hopefully the changes we are making improve things in a pretty meaningful way. Just shake up the meta a little bit. But yeah, there's still going to be some woes, and but hopefully people can be excited for, the whatever the thing is to come. But it shouldn't be too hard for us to come up with something. Honestly, similar to how we did 031 for PoE 2. If we can come up with something that is just like a universal success and like is blatantly a win and isn't gonna, lower the value of people's economy mid-league and stuff like that, I wouldn't be against if we can come up with something, because we're obviously going to design it soon. If we can come up with something or a piece of that something to deploy to, mid-league, mid-Keepers of the Flame, I will push for that. We'll just have to see if that's something we can actually do, because often these things will mean like, oh, now all of X will become devalued, and I don't want to like ruin people's mid-league economy and wealth and just destroy it because we decided we want to make a change. And so there's considerations to make.
Yeah, from speaking to Octavian about the tier 17 modifiers as well, I can tell they're kind of weighing on him, like he really wants to do stuff with them.
I think we're all on the same page. I honestly don't even know if anyone really is disagreeing with, like, maybe in little ways, but I think everyone's kind of...
okay, I gotta ask, like, is there someone who loves the 3 seconds out of every 10 seconds you can't deal damage modifier? Like...
I like it.
Okay, tell me why.
But I play support characters. I don't deal damage.
Okay. All right, you're going to jump on this grenade. How does that modifier come into being?
No, I mean, to be fair, I like things that are just a bit more... I'm a bit more masochistic in that regard.
That's what I was gonna say.
I'm not attempting to put my masochistic views on the player base. I understand that, generally speaking, people aren't for that kind of thing. But I also like trying those things, seeing how it is, and there are things where these can exist. Like if this was behind a couple more layers of some sort of more niche corruption mechanic where players, or some crafting system over here where players can kind of choose to do it but don't feel forced to do it. Those things can exist, and I want to make sure we keep that kind of stuff. But in the broad mod pool, some of these mods are, they're not really working.
Yeah, it was
evidently
that one, and the like action speed reduction from using your skills, and I think there was the petrification statues get mentioned a lot as well.
It's the drowning orbs plus that plus it's just like, okay, look, thanks for making me slow. I mean, the thing about slowness is you do feel it, hence why. Whereas like often you can just be like, I'm just gonna ignore that. That's a nothing mod.
Physically painful sometimes.
So but it's a bit overboard right now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I see the problem here. Like, I'm so torn on this because I want these sorts of. I get the idea of these modifiers being like things that you can feel like that they have a bit of an impact, and they're not just like.
Well, I don't want everything to just be another multiplier making the monster get closer to one-shotting you. You know what I mean?
Mechanics to happen.
Yeah, you want something, but there are some
in
that
a way,
are
I kind of
okay,
like
and there are
that.
some that are not, and we just haven't found the perfect spot.
There's an analogy about this, which is like, how do you feel about immunities in D2? It's another sort of similar situation, right? Where it's like it forces you to change something about what you're doing, and a lot of people just really hate that. Yeah, and it's kind of like a similar sort of situation, I think.
Yeah,
it's funny they
like
mentioned
the
that.
idea, but I don't like the execution of that at all. Yeah.
Right.
Or the
and I think we're actually sort of running into a similar situation with this.
This is it is kind of your. I mean, we've danced with this a few times in the past. We had some immunities on some pinnacle bosses and stuff like that. We talked about it in previous chats a long time ago. But so it sounds like some of those modifiers are changing then, if nothing else, maybe as the band-aids in the
sure. I mean, there's band-aids like that, but there is something like wrong here though to solve. That's all. I don't know if I can say more than that, really.
Yeah.
With the map mod effect and the Atlas tree in particular, I'd rather there was like 15 different ways to scale difficulty and reward, as opposed to just like, here's the stat I stack, and it's just like straight multiplicative. Right. I don't know. I want, because obviously a lot of the stuff on the tree is affecting the leagues and the content. I want more than just map mod effect to be the way that you can multiply. And so it's like, do I want to focus on this or do I want to focus on that? And there's like different builds within the like making things more harder and more rewarding. But yeah, right now it's just like, well, obviously I just stack all of that. Like quantifiably, it's obviously better, and like there's I don't know, it's a little bit lame, honestly. It's kind of just a boring thing right now, and I don't know. This again, drawing board, 100% back to it, revisit it. I'd be surprised if we're not doing something for 328 as much as I told myself I wasn't going to promise following expansion content, but
there's some patch notes coming out later today. Is that, or is it later?
Yeah, I don't know what the time is, but our 11 a.m. NZ or whatever it is, kind of thing. Like
there'll probably be like a rollout over time as well, from what I'm hearing. Like
that's just generally the case because patch note writing is a surprisingly difficult task. It takes quite a while to get all that stuff.
I mean, you've got an extra week to make additional changes. Like people are like,
there's always that too.
Get extra ideas and stuff, and some of this stuff may be in there, but it can be. Have a look at some of those in there, but it sounds like we're kind of on the same page with you guys, at least regarding a lot of this.
Yeah, I don't think you'll. I mean, obviously, it obviously needs attention. So yeah.
All right, it's cool. So on endgame though, in like a longer term, from a longer term perspective, we have a pretty good Atlas endgame system right now. Like I think it's pretty well liked, apart from this issue that we just talked about. Like overall, the core of it seems great. Like I can sing many praises about it. But previously, like historically, you've done a lot of complete endgame overhauls, and to the point that it was definitely a trend. Like it seemed to be like the way that you guys would go about it. Like every so often, there'd be a major endgame overhaul. Is that still the case? Like, have you achieved something that you kind of want to keep and maybe change instead?
I don't think that we would want to not overhaul the endgame again. Like the reason that it's not like we're like, this is what we're set on, we're now just going to keep this forever. Certainly not. It's more just that it comes down to like it is hard to come up with the ability to do a scope for that, and it's been especially hard.
I played so much POE
too.
POE 2 that thinking about the POE 1 endgame,
in early access. So it's kind of like
just the way the mapping system is versus the way the mapping system is on POE 2.
I don't think it will be necessarily that far away from the point where that should be fine again.
I'm gonna have to get used to it again.
That, like, it really is just a question of like, can we get the ability and time to do it? Like I don't think, as I said, I don't think it will necessarily be that far away before we do something like that again. And I like you do need to change the stuff every once in a while. Like it does become stagnant eventually.
Interesting.
So I think we should do another big overhaul. but obviously the term overhaul can mean a lot of different things, right?
We should be careful with overhaul.
Like it's not like it's going to change into like a it'll still be fundamentally the POE 1 Atlas and the none of the overhauls we did changed it too fundamentally, I would say, in some respects. I mean, yeah, there's big changes, but I guess it depends on how you look at it. But it's not like we're going to suddenly be like, oh yeah, we're changing it to be like a POE 2 like system or something like that. Like but we do need would need new pinnacles and new challenges there and that sort of stuff. Like that's something that we will have to do eventually. It's just getting time.
That kind of stuff, like escalating the narrative and cycling out bosses and cycling out characters and changing all that stuff is like generally pretty harmless and generally cool. Like you're not really messing with the systems and the core of what people like and the cycle that people like. So like obviously that's always just a nice win when you get to be like, all right, what are the next set of what much like Breach has now evolved and gone forward in time, so will the end game story at some point, and we will do that for sure. And it's just like there's always mechanics that come with it. And sometimes if you add those mechanics, they can't coexist with some existing ones because it overcomplicates everything, it becomes a mess. I would hate to have, I don't want to add more systems and now all of a sudden it's extra steps even more over to have to do on your maps before you run them and that kind of stuff. So sometimes things need to be replaced, but we appreciate the fact that POE 1's endgame is in a pretty overall. I mean, everything always has its problems. I'm not going to deny it. We just discussed them, as you said. But it's in a pretty damn good spot, and there's so much good about it, and I don't want to ruin that. So we'll be very careful with that stuff. But honestly,
I can understand the desire to spice it up.
Like what you might find is that we use this T17 thing as a motivation to go,
if you
what
get
is
in a
the
bad
redesign?
spot, then
Okay,
that's
let's
not good.
use that as the like crux of what we design around and fix the problem both narratively and like game design wise by removing these problems from the game, creating something new in its stead. And
I think what I'm most curious about is like if let's say you went into a meeting today to try and come up with a new end game for POE 1. Like an overhaul for it, would it still have an Atlas passive tree like it has now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's
no way you'd get rid of that.
I already know.
It's too good, right?
I already know what it is, so I already have it in my mind.
Oh, okay. you were saying before last time that
it's deep in my mind.
You've got a story arc planned.
Well, the Secrets of the Atlas was intended to be part one of a multi-part, right? So I've got the other parts, or at least most of it. And yes, the tree is still there. And honestly, I don't think anything is fundamentally in my plan in my head is changing enough to cause any concern. So, I mean,
all right, great.
It's all for the better.
I'm
pretty confident of that as well.
Great.
And now everyone will have to just wait to see what those ideas are for an undetermined amount of time.
I assume we'll get a follow-up to the story maybe next expansion, perhaps, of following along what's happened to that. It was pretty interesting last one.
We'll see, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about balance. There wasn't too much revealed about balance in the reveal trailer stuff itself, but I know it was mentioned that there would be a bit of balance stuff going on here, and I've had a chat to a few people and scoped out some things. Like, for example, there is the unplayed assassin that gets asked about a lot, and it seems like something's happening for assassin.
Yeah, that actually came kind of recently. We were just like, can we really... I think what I had said, and my intention was to do this for both games, is like, we should at least look at, like at least with respect to ascendancies, look at the least played class, especially if it's been consistently least played.
Yeah.
And make sure that that's on the radar and getting some level of improvement. And even if it means we have a go at it, and if the scope's too high, we do it a bit later, and if the scope's within spec, we do it immediately. In this case, we looked at the assassin. It was like 40% lower, at least on the primary leagues. It was like much lower usage than even the next class, and then so it wasn't
poor assassin.
Well. And it's been the case for a little while. So we were like, look, let's just do something. Like, come on, it's better than doing nothing. So obviously we just put together what we could over a couple days and kind of mix and match. We had like 3 or 4 different iterations, and it came up when we were looking at it. It was like the whole you have the interesting thing, you go and look you look at the class and it's like, why is the ruthless poison node better than the non-ruthless poison node? Weren't the classes on ruthless meant to be a bit weaker? And then it was kind of like, oh, okay, well that's a thing we can maybe draw inspiration from, and we just did our whole like process for
Amazing.
that. But yeah, so we teased that last night, whatever the time zone is, and hopefully people enjoy it and play it. But yeah, I kind of want to get into the rhythm of every expansion. At least we look at, not necessarily change because it depends on the scope a bit, but we at least give it a go of making sure we look at the worst class no matter what, even if ascendancy classes aren't part of our the package of things that we're wanting to improve. Because sometimes we do a focus on the ascendancy classes, other times skills, other times this, other times that, and but I was like, okay, it's like, this is pretty bad. Let's do something about it this time and see if we can be consistent with that. No promises, but we'll try.
And
we have an hour and a half until
patch next year with Bloodline Ascendancies. So just to clarify, these
an hour and a half until patch notes. I think
Ascendancies on top of the original class that you can choose where to put your points.
Same point pool. And the reason a lot of people ask, or immediately are like, well, why don't you give separate points like Affliction? And the real reason is combinations are great, but also I didn't want to have to water down the power of the points. That's too much power creep, like to add to a character to be able to give trees at large. And so there was that interesting part of it. The other second part is that we wanted to make sure that there weren't enough points that you could put all 8, at least generally speaking. So you'll find most of the classes only have 1 to 3 notables, kind of up to 6 points worth that you can spend.
Yep.
And this is so always, no matter what ascendancy you are still matters. I didn't want to just make it that literally the entire game, no matter what base class you are, where you start on the tree is the same. If it happened to be that a certain bloodline was OP, it's, which I'm sure one of them probably is. And all of a sudden now every single person is just this one thing. It wanted to be like, nah, I think we want to do a feature that adds as much in-game build permutations as possible.
Yeah.
Well, and also what's cooler than just being able to take the powers or learn the powers of your favorite boss for the purpose of a fantasy. Let's mix and match these things. And now you get this cool, like, okay, I'm a Templar. I'm all about, holy powers, but I'm also going to embrace my dark side over here, or maybe the ways of the Asmerian. You get like a Shabi Guardian thing or something. Oh, sorry, I've got support classes on my brain all the time. So, you have your Slayer something, So, the permutations honestly are endless. And obviously metas are found and builds are created and all of that. But what we obviously find is that, there's a few awesome perks here that I kind of like, is that we can add motivation to doing certain content that otherwise you wouldn't normally do. That's great. We can add this for future content very easily, right? There's probably other bosses that you're like, oh, we can do this and this and this. Like, it's very easy to expand this and take it away. And the reason we're able to do that is because it is an in-game feature. It's not like overcomplicating the campaign and that player's experience. Like, you wouldn't want a second class in the campaign. People were like, holy, I've already got a tree and I've got this tree.
You mean a third class?
A second. It's like, okay, I've got too many classes. There's too much stuff going on. So being able to keep it in the end game is an in-game unlockable thing where we can expand this feature over time. Now, all of that, of course, is under the assumption it succeeds. Again, we'll listen to the feedback, check what players think about it. But it's assuming it does well. Again, pretty high confidence. Yeah, it will remain and we'll keep expanding, keep extrapolating, keep changing. And then it's yet another lever where we get to add so many different builds, because one bloodline being able to then be paired with all 19 ascendancy classes is just like, all right, we've got a lot of stuff going on here, a lot of different options, a lot of cool things you can do. And yeah, I mean, I am actually real excited to see what happens here. More than most things, I'm always like kind of excited to see what players do with things, but like here I'm just like, I don't know. Let's see what happens. Like, it's gonna be real cool, and I suspect you'll get, like, for quite a while, people narrowing down on exactly what the perfect combinations are for different things. And,
Well, it definitely seems like one of those things where you just design something cool and we'll see what players do with it, because there's too many permutations there, right? Like, I don't even know what the math on that is, but it's pretty crazy, the amount of like new nodes.
Number.
Yes, several
infinite. No, not
several dozen new nodes accessible to all of the existing ascendancies. That's a lot of numbers.
Yeah. I'm like thoroughly excited. I'm gonna I'm gonna just do the whole like, what boss do I feel like being this league? I'll just see if I can make that work, and then so I'm actually gonna go backwards. I'm gonna pick.
It's gonna be really nice for the ascendancies that like
kind of embrace the power of.
Sometimes you have like
then I'll pick my
two notables you want to get, but then the other two are just kind of like whatever.
Flavor building wise.
Well, if there's no mercenaries, I need to be a good mercenary to my friends. That's my philosophy.
Back to being mercenary again, eh? So this isn't tied to Breach League, the Keepers of the Flame. It's a core game feature, Elblin standard as well, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
yep.
Cool. And saw someone asking about Forbidden Flesh and Flame. I assume that wouldn't work with this.
Not with these, but that isn't to say there won't be some future uniques that maybe do.
I mean,
we'll see what happens.
There's an option there, isn't there?
Yeah. Okay. More Forbidden Flesh and Flame. I don't know what I want to call them. Yeah.
All right. Continuing on the balance topic, from asking around the PoE community, some of the more common things that just kind of come up was, well, the most popular thing was just the general idea of buffing underprivileged skills, like giving them some love. So you mentioned this idea of like looking at the worst thing in terms of ascendancies. Is that something you want to do with skills as well?
We're always, there's a little bit of there's a few things to go into here. Like, for example, yes, there's obviously the core skills that are bad. Sometimes those are then enabled by something else going on, some other feature getting added, uniques, whatever. But most of the time, they're just, as you said, underprivileged. We've done a decent chunk of numerical changes here, mostly numerical. Some are, I don't want to say unsalvageable, but like, they don't have the same level of different multiplicative scaling that other skills could get. There's not too many though. And they require more, what I'm getting at there is they require more of a rework in order to actually become, truly viable. That being said, yes, there are plenty that always need numerical improvements. I don't know, and then you got things like the Trathan gems, right? Cool concept. 90% of them weren't really seeing any use. A few were, and now those are going core, I believe, into heist is what it is. But is meanwhile also full balance pass, so hopefully some more come to the foreground there, and so on. So like, but like honestly, this is like a kind of endless task. It's like almost like you could just never stop. So like we like to just do batches at a time and send it, and we try and do as many as we can. But like each require discussions. They can be quite time consuming. Some are more obvious, where it's like, okay, obvious increase, and others are like, do we want to do this or do we want to rework it? And then you get lost in a rework discussion. It's important to like cut the time. And it's like, actually, look, for now, buff it. We'll come back to it later. But yeah, like we get through as many as we can. We've done a bunch. I could always say, ideally we'd do more, but like, I don't think, again, there's no real end point to that. So yes, sure. I wanted this patch to be very class centric in terms of balance. And like we did, I would say we did a decent chunk, but it's, we didn't get to cover every base 100%. So obviously, like, you got the bloodline classes, you've got grafts, which are character-centric, and then we got the whole set of new skills and support gems, and some changes around that. There are a bunch of other changes, but yeah, like, it's that thing where I don't know if I'm ever satisfied. I always just you want to do everything. You want to literally do it all, and you never can. So, like, hopefully there's enough. Certainly should be enough to shake up the meta, should be enough to make everything feel fresh and some awesome cool new stuff, but like, don't be surprised if a particular person's favorite skill didn't happen to get touched. Like,
that's the interesting thing about the skill buffs idea, is that you manage to achieve these days there's lots of different builds, and they're changing a lot each league as well, by virtue of like the new stuff that you're adding, like ascendancy changes or new skills or whatever. All that stuff is creating lots of new builds all the time. But when it comes to the skill buffs, I think it's more just about, like you said, like someone has like a favorite skill that has been languishing. Some sweep lover is out there just crying still.
It sucks to miss something, like, because you see, what happens when you buff everything, then you get a lot of like, but what about this? And you're like, yeah, I know, I'm sorry.
I want like pure Cyclone
I
to
really
come back.
wanted to, and and then sometimes we still try and just squeeze it in before the patch, and we just try and get as many done as we can. But yeah, like, again, it is ultimately a resource game, and we do as much as we can. We really do, combined with both new stuff to change everything up, bringing like excessive outliers down, and we do try and improve as much as we can. And this time we took it upon ourselves to add a bunch of new skills and supports, and so I don't know. There's heaps there, but you know, it's that thing where a few people are going to have missed their thing, and there's a few. You know, you want to do hand casting. You want to do that. You don't want it to just. I know that's come up, and I think even you mentioned earlier as well. It's just like it devolves down to often, you know, either Archmage or Ephemeral Edge and like that kind of stuff being just like, well, obviously, right, quantifiably better. And so it's the ideal thing where, you know, we'd make some changes to some of those, and ideally you'd bring up all of something else, but you know, sometimes you get some of it, not all of it, and everything. But yeah, there's heaps here. Just, you know. You never quite catch everything, but there will be new metas, there will be new builds, and probably a lot of existing stuff will still be.
Wonder how long the Q&A is
pretty
supposed to go
decent. But yeah, there's a bit of nerfs, bit of buffs, bit of it's how it goes with all of this balanced stuff. Really, it's a bit chaotic, but you know, there's something satisfying to it. But as I said, you never really fully get everything, and thus you never fully feel satisfied.
You kind of answered my question a bit because, like, one of the popular archetypes that's come up as being a bit problematic is hand casting, self casting. Spells, and usually I think what gets brought up with that is like slow base cast speed, and that in turn making things like echo feel bad, and mana costs being. I don't think
we've done that enough justice for sure.
Yeah.
But it's certainly on the hit list. Yeah. So we'll either we can get to do some stuff, you know, in this coming week if it's simple, if we can think of it. It's not off the cards. That being said. There's always next expansion as well. But honestly, you never know because often these external variables, like the new classes and stuff like that, can really change these things up, you know, without you really predicting it as well. So, you know, I can't speak to what we'll do in 3.28 with respect to all this because we have to observe what happens in this patch first, given how many variables we've added. And like we said, we've added a nearly infinite number of permutations of builds with the new bloodline classes and stuff like that. So, we'll see how all that goes. And then, but we'll just keep doing it. It never stops.
Curious to see what
it literally is an infinite task. You never.
If I'm gonna do
run out of stuff to do here, so we'll just
bloodline classes could be good for Bama.
One that comes up a lot is the kind of dominance of ES stacking and kind of stacking builds in general, but ES probably has been getting mentioned a lot more. Forbidden Ride, Ephemeral Edge, things like that. But
I wonder if I can link to my clones
as well.
Yeah, it does
with that item that like,
you know.
Linking, they take less damage and they gain modifiers like Headhunter kind of thing.
Consider them band-aids or just like, you know, you just change some numbers here and there.
I wonder if that works
sometimes
on
in the
Bama
case of like
clones.
Ephemeral Edge, it can be a matter of like, yeah, that's an acceptable thing to do. It just shouldn't be as so easy to do. So yeah, I wouldn't say there's no broad solution here, but yeah, I agree that it is a problem where it's like the more traditional.
I also didn't get to see what that was.
Do a thing
I don't.
Feels like it's now
obviously,
wrong. It feels like
maybe
you're gonna,
use a bow. I don't know if that
to
was like a shield
what is
or
this
something.
Singular thing. I'm gonna stack.
I was so focused on reading the modifiers, I didn't see
so
what kind of
like
PC gear it was.
Attributes historically,
to be honest.
you know, not just thinking current meta. It's always it's always like you just like heavily stack this one thing, and here's a unique that scales off that thing, and it's like, well, that's. On one part, it's interesting. It's like fun. That is the build.
I'm in two minds on it.
But then when every build is just like, okay, well, that's stacking this, that's stacking that, that's stacking, and you start going through the builds, and you're like, okay,
we definitely like very slowly got here over time. I feel like in the stacking, where it just became kind of like. Yeah, just a little bit at a time. It became POE 1 became all about stacking builds.
It really primarily comes down to mostly to the unique items that got added, right?
Yeah, it's often
generally a unique item's special thing is like, what am I going to scale off? You know, be it off evasion or off armor or off energy shield or off life or off ES or mana and or off int or off strength. You know, it does end up. And then some unique gets added, like maybe it's 1 per year, and it's like, oh, here's another 6% increased intelligence. There we go. That build's now just got a little bit more of an edge, and you do kind of just power creep into that point for sure. So
it's like I don't even know like how much of a problem it is, but it's like definitely identifiable that it's like a big aspect of the build meta for POE 1.
It is. I think it's
other things out maybe.
I think it's too dominant, but. On the other hand, it's
fun though. Like, people
it's
like
fun. It's cool. It's interesting.
So you don't really want to.
You could argue it's what makes things kind of as part of POE to a degree.
Yeah, it's an actual action RPG.
Yeah, so you got to be careful with it. You don't just want to take away all the fun and just make everything flat and boring. On the other hand, but you also don't want it to feel like a player's made a mistake by playing a more traditional, build, and it often can feel that way. So there's a fine line here. Hard to be at that fine line, but yeah, some things are a bit too OTT at this point, and other things are too far on the bottom end. And the other problem is if they start buffing all the skills, well, a lot of those skills might see use, but they'll still see use in that stacking ecosystem. And then it's like, well, have you really made a new build at that point? Like, yeah.
I think that's sometimes the problem is like, my builds feel the same because ultimately, like, I'm using different skills, but I'm just stacking on all of them or something like that.
I don't have a here's the solution.
Yeah,
because it really isn't how it actually. It's not really how it plays.
Kind of gauging your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy discussing it. It's just a matter of it's honestly 500 different solutions, and we need to just chip away at them and mold it, and it will eventually shift into something else, and then that will be meta, and then that will be complained about probably after a while, and then something else will be, and it's the cycles. It is balance. It is as I said, it's an infinite amount of work, and we just need to keep doing it. Like, you don't give up on it because it can never be solved. You just keep going, and as long as people are having fun, and you don't compromise the philosophy of the game ultimately, then you're winning, right?
Balance is a journey. Yeah, it's not about the destination. It's about the journey.
It is. It actually is.
Yeah, for real.
I mean, sure, it's the stops along the way. Every expansion.
That's it. Yes.
Every reroll.
Well, a nice stop on this expansion I noticed is wand. So you did actually mention it last 326 Q&A. You said wand specifically. I went back and watched, and I was like, oh, interesting. I should ask about that. And then you showed off a bunch of wand skills, and it seems like there's some nice wand buffs going on in there to help wanders out.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple things. There's a bit of a hidden gem is that there's attack mod only wand based types in the series now. So they're literally, and they're kind of themed more around kinetic
wands.
Wands, and so because that's always been a bit of an annoyance. Like, there is a place for the hybrids,
I've never
but that's
played
been a bit
wander.
of an annoyance. So now we get the pure attack ones to help it a bit easier to roll for those builds. You got way more of a skill set to pick from now, and then I mean, generally speaking, the skills. They can be pretty hectic. They can scale pretty well.
Kinetic rain is very hectic.
But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a cool theme, just like that general kind of physical kinetic energy kind of thing going on. We had a little bit of it with kinetic bolt, kinetic blast. So we just extrapolated on that theme, and you got your wanders, and it's the thing. And then we also added a little bit of kind of wind magic, some tornado stuff.
It's like a force wall that you can.
Yeah, the kind of force wall. Blast. You've got a little bit of inspired by Huntress from POE 2 a little bit with some of the, I walked upstairs the other day and saw some QA playing, and I'm like, oh, someone's embracing the tornadoes, and he's like, that's not even half the tornadoes you can make. All right, sweet, all right. I was like, yeah, that's POE 1, and I walked out of the room. I was like, all right.
I blasted I went through 4 yesterday on a wander, and I was just like, man, this is so good. I was having the time of my life. Oh my lord, the new skills and the wands. And it's not just the kinetic ones as well. It actually pairs pretty well with the other ones that have the flat added elemental damage. And it all kind of came together a bit. It's
it's cool.
I definitely in the past I just kind of wrote wands off. I was like, yeah, they're never gonna get to wands. It's forgotten about.
It's always been pretty kind of just it's niche. It's actually an interesting thing. I mean, obviously it was designed before I started on POE, and I always thought that's kind of cool. That wands that aren't about just spellcasting. It's they're about doing attack damage. I thought it was interesting.
Pistolero style. That's what I like about it. Wands.
Yeah, this might be the largest update to wand attackers that we've ever had in now 15 years or something. So
just finally, I know there's some people in the chat that have been a long time waiting for this one.
Yeah, you're right.
Your moment has finally come. It's good
cool.
stuff.
Maybe I'll try a wander at some point this week.
Little
Probably not at the starter or anything, but we'll see.
Some fire archer.
My issue is a lot of the time.
Want to still extrapolate on, but wands was the main focus.
From what I can remember, a lot of wanders are kind of floppy, but big damage.
Kills from the hands on your back as well. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Lots of
They're kind of like the
there.
zoom mapper. Don't get.
We kind of touched on a little bit earlier.
Don't get hit.
Shifting gears a little bit.
And I'm
curious about
being tanky, so I don't play them.
The long-term development of POE 1.
I could be wrong. Maybe some of the more recent builds are tanky too.
POE Classic, POE 1 kind of sacrosanct to you? How much do you not want to change it? Or because you've been taking things from POE 2 and feeding them back into POE 1, and I'm curious, is there points you get to where you're well, actually, let's not push it too much closer to PoE 2 in that direction, but keep it its own thing, or maybe like actually let's kind of preserve it as it is to some extent?
I wouldn't want PoE 1 to ossify into something where we feel like we can't change stuff. Like that would be bad.
Cool.
But
Sounds cool though.
Yeah, but it's kind of like okay, the stuff people that we'll probably take back from PoE 2 is more around the sort of QOL areas of stuff, right? So obviously, people would have been rioting if we hadn't brought async trade from PoE 2 into PoE 1. That's obviously something required. And so it's been sort of nice that we get to do a little bit of like proving grounds in some cases in PoE 2 for some of those changes to see whether or not it'll be okay. The thing we wouldn't ever do to PoE 1 is make changes that would break what people like about it fundamentally. So there's things like the trickiest parts, things like the way that item drops are and stuff like that. Like I don't know that, like, even though there are things I don't like about that, I don't think we could necessarily change them either. In terms of so like there's stuff like that you just have to kind of like let it be, because they could easily break stuff that people really like.
It kind of raises the question, like, what is it about PoE 1 that does need to be kept, that is kind of what makes it feel like itself, that people do love about it?
I think that it's hard to even define that, quite frankly, because like it's a mix of things. I mean, look, the thing that PoE 1, I guess, has become known for, as opposed to PoE 2, is just like the combat pace stuff, like where it's just like ultra fast in a lot of ways. But it's not like there was like a goal to make PoE 1 like that either. It just kind of is. Yeah. And so you wouldn't like it's I wouldn't even want to nerf that about PoE 1, right? Like it just is how that is, right? So that's like really the fundamental difference. But the thing is, I think actually that the community sees more differences between the two games than what we do. Like from our perspective, like it's like there are I don't even know how to really get into this exactly, but it's like, we're just trying to make a good game. And it's not like we change design.
Really funny how sometimes you can't tell.
It's the same design philosophy.
Like, it's hard to put into words why people like PoE 1 so much.
Both. It's more just a question of like PoE 1 got a bit out of control in certain few aspects, and that's kind of become part of its DNA, and so we can't really change that. And so so when it comes down to stuff like that we'd take from PoE 2 to PoE 1, well, it's just like all the things that PoE 1 players would like, and none of the things that PoE 1 players wouldn't really. I mean, look, that's ultimately we want to be doing. But yeah, I wouldn't want it to be. I wouldn't want to be in a situation, as I said before, where it's like, okay, we're like PoE 1 is in some kind of perfect state that needs to be preserved forever. Like, I don't think it's like that. We do need to be able to make changes. So yeah, it's just a question of.
I think a pivot with PoE 2 out, and this isn't obviously black or white, but PoE 1 is. We always had and this is still true, we still want to bring in new players. But I would say PoE 1 now, it's more important to us to keep the PoE 1 player base, the fans of the game, the long-term players, the people who love PoE 1 happy, as opposed to going, we need more new players, we bring people in. Whereas obviously PoE 2 is still now a growing game, there's a new audience available, that kind of thing. So obviously, we still want people who love PoE 1 to love PoE 2. That's the ideal world. But that being said, when we're looking at PoE 1, we're not going to try and do anything that's going to compromise what the fans love about it in order to bring in a new set of players at this point. I would say that's going to be pretty rare. So it's about making sure that the people who do love the game continue to love the game. And that's why you're probably going to see less in the way of some grand structural change to all kinds of stuff. Because, if that change would bring in a bunch of new players. I think making sure you have a good, popular game that people love will inherently bring people in, because people will see that positivity and be like, I'm going to give this game a try. Less focus on bringing in new, more focus on keeping the existing fan base happy. And whereas obviously with PoE 2, it's a bit of a different story, where we really did think we want to, there's a new room for a new audience here, there's room for a different audience, we want to make sure we get as many of those players as possible. What would it take to do so? But ultimately, at the end of the day, what that then ended up boiling down to, aside from obviously modernizing graphics, changing the feel of combat, honestly, the biggest change is just balance.
I don't necessarily even think about it, I think, in the same ways. I'm not thinking I'm making changes to bring in new players. I'm thinking what are the things that I want to improve that I think that we can't change about PoE 1, because they are somewhat would be impossible to change just due to the game field changing so much.
Yeah.
And so like really for me, it's like, I'm on a 20-year quest to make the perfect ARPG, right? That's my sort of like design thing. And it's like nothing actually changed between PoE 1 and 2 philosophically, other than just learning about some things and deciding, I want to improve things in certain ways.
I do think there is a little bit of an assumption that a lot of philosophical discussions occur with respect to, like, outside of talking about dexterity and stuff like that. Honestly, most of it is just like we're just kind of get real passionate and just start coming up with real cool ideas of shit that sounds cool that we want to deliver. Like, we're not really having discussions about, like, hey, okay, today, Jonathan, let's have a discussion about how many new players we can bring in. Like, we don't do that. So, about, like, I'm trying to boil down what we are. I'm trying to turn it into a philosophy, but the reality is the process is just like, how can we make cool shit? That's it. Cool shit that's fun, that doesn't like compromise things in too thing of a way. Things people will love, things people will enjoy. That is the ultimate goal at the end of the day. As I said, making whatever the visions
crazy
are of this
that devs would want to make a good game and not just want to try and make as much money as possible.
It's always interesting trying to be like, how can what are the rules? What are we going to change? What at the end of the day, it's just like, well, I don't know. We'll just continue to make cool shit, and that's just generally what we're going to do. And so, I don't know. It's actually a little bit hard to try and decipher that down into like a set of rules or something. It's like I don't know. If it's cool, if it's fun, if people love it, then it's a win. And
it's good that both games have a bit of room to breathe on their own, then, because you can preserve the things that do make PoE 1 its DNA, but are objectively like limits to what sort of improvements you can make to the game. But I do have an important question for you both. What bonus should dexterity give you?
Oh, jeez. You got a few hours?
See, I know this is every time I come over here, I feel like this comes up. It's been going for a while, hasn't it?
Oh, for
dexterity.
sure.
What do you get for dexterity? You still haven't solved that one,
At this point, I just feel like nothing. Just nothing.
Just vibes.
We just call it. We rename it to green attribute.
It just does nothing. It's an organic attribute. Like, very nice. All right, so still not solved there. So you did mention that asynchronous has come over to PoE 1. It's like, initially I was like, there's almost not a question about that because it went into PoE 2. It worked. Was there any problems in bringing it over to PoE 1?
Not really, to be honest. Like, I think it basically. I mean, the fact that PoE 1 got the gold already kind of meant that it can kind of work. But
the gold is a thing though. Like,
it is because of the fact that the gold is more scarce in PoE 1 more valuable for other things.
Used.
It's more used for other things. Yes.
Yeah. So we had to do a little bit of balance around that.
That's
obviously, but also like we do have to go through and assign gold prices to everything in the game, and obviously because PoE 1 has a lot more different items and stuff going on, we did have to go through and do all of that. So it wasn't.
I didn't realize they like individually do prices
we had
on
to
everything.
Consider, well, hold on, the gold balance already was kind of like tight, like so. And it's in that spot of like, some people are like, I want more, and you do want people wanting more, and so now all of a sudden there's this extra thing. That's a cost, so we have to obviously account for that. What else was there though? I mean, ultimately, it's mostly just, I guess the console.
Yeah, so there's like the thing. So console previously had a kind of like trade board thing, which is made pretty much entirely redundant by this. So that old trade board is getting ported over into this system now. So that's
we're actually deploying that. Just a fun fact. We're going to make a post about it, but we're deploying that a bit. The removal of that a bit early because we need. There's like a thing where we have to get rid of it before the new system is put in place, due to just like database migration kind of territory things. So we're doing that like a couple days early. To remove the console trade board, and then a couple of days later, 327 releases. So there'll be a little bit. We'll do a whole post about that, just about what happens to those items. You don't lose your items; they all get put in remove only tabs and all of that stuff. But
well, I'll tell you, for the PoE 1 only players who maybe haven't tried it in PoE 2 yet, it's been pretty phenomenal. Right. The asynchronous trade is definitely like a massive quality of life improvement and very pleasing to use.
The only exception I have is I used to like doing like the instant bio, like not instant bio, but
so like I wouldn't want people to think just because
like a 50 chaos tab,
I know people have
and then I dump everything in there.
Searches.
Yep.
I kind of like doing that.
Rapidly, like, you could
even if I lose some money sometimes because I put something worth more in there.
That item,
we're getting that feature, right? I think they even maybe.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I'm talking about things that are in progress.
Like, that's actually wild that you're like potentially getting that. That's
It's very. I know everyone wants.
Is that going to be in time for POE 1's release?
I'm not sure. I actually haven't followed up on the exact specifics of that, where that's at, but if not, it'll just be mid-league or something. You know what I mean? Like we'll try as soon as it's done on both games, it'll get deployed.
Since you're on it, was there like a reason why you can't mouse over items in like your sold items log to see what they were? Like I like that information to be like, oh, what was that sold for 2D of?
Tried that, didn't we?
But it doesn't.
I
can't see the
remember,
item,
but it might have been that it would require storing the item, which might have been.
We discussed originally allowing that. I think. I remember discussing that before doing it, and we were like, "That would be cool. That would be the thing we want to do."
Probably doesn't store it at the moment because it's like
a tech thing for that.
It's not like, I mean, we could probably do it, but
okay,
yeah, it
potentially on the cards then. Yeah, it certainly would be nice. Like I like that feedback as a seller, but I certainly love logging in the morning to all the currency and seeing what's sold for what.
But effectively, I think that like trying to improve the kind of price check experience would be the thing that kind of like the next frontier of like in terms of the UI trade search and sort of stuff.
The slippery slope to slide down to.
As long as we don't all of a sudden have like stock market-esque UIs.
No, I don't think we're not going to get that. Like, basically, we have to find a way to do that stuff that doesn't get overcomplicated.
Yeah.
So like but I mean, that's the tricky part. Like trying to improve that.
I'd like to just be able to just paste the stats into the search.
Want to push that and
like on a rare that you find.
An interesting like opportunity you guys have to be able
and then
to,
just let you like modify and remove stats, change values as you want
for players
for a search.
Now to price check an item, which is a very complex affair, typically. So, but it's interesting that that's on the cards. That's something you're.
That's what I've been hoping for ever since Instant IO.
But I don't think that's going to come all in one grand moment. Like I think it'll be, so this time might be just being able to. I can't remember what the modifier keys you have to hold is, but there's some modifier keys you can do to like effectively search for the item that you've got under your cursor, and open up the board and see it.
Nice.
It's like, I got these decent pair of boots.
So it sounds like they're doing that.
Maybe lower the move speed by 5 or lower the life by 10. And
the thing that you want to get into is because there's all the questions around, okay, but what if these mods are irrelevant and you don't want to search for them, and like being able to do that right. And exactly. It's like all of those things that need that need a little bit of UX around them that we will.
Yeah, that's what I'm excited about because with the
sounds like they might be doing something really like that, what I just said. So that sounds really cool.
Right.
I'm actually hyped about that if that's the case.
Anyway, slightly getting off topic there, but
I hope that
it was obviously.
I can't remember if they said that was coming or if it's like
rightfully afraid of like what would be the economic implications of this? How would it affect gearing and progression? And like, I guess like firstly, what has been kind of the use rate of asynchronous trade? Like, how people been using it?
So we were checking on this recently. I think that you got them to look up the numbers on that, and it ended up being around 50-50.
Just under half were using the new system in POE 2. So
really?
far, I expect that to go up over time.
Yep. Is this like compared to the existing stuff? Or?
Well, it's just compared to people using normal trades. From one person to the other. Okay, but there was a little bit of filtering, like, okay, if it's like with your friend, do we count that or not, and like that kind of thing. Like there was a few things like that we would need to sort of look at to see, like, questions around that. But yeah, I mean, look, it's people who are using it seem to like it. I mean, the buyer experience is obviously way better.
We generally found like. I don't know if it's still the case now, but like for a while, like the new trade system, the items were a little bit more expensive. So then there were people who were like,
settling in.
I'll deal with the old one because I want to think a bit cheaper.
But then the reason why they're more expensive is because of the fact it's easier to buy them. So therefore people are willing to pay more. So
most people are like, I'm just going to pay the extra cost because I can't be bothered with it.
Exactly.
So I agree. I'm one of them.
Right.
Cost of money. Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's important to know as well. And
I'll
I just
pay
want
more
to
if I can verify this. Probably.
If you are a POE 2 player and you do have your merchants tabs, you have them in POE 1 already. You don't need to buy new ones.
It's good.
They are shared, just to reiterate.
So what do you think has been the effect on economy and gearing, and like, is it as I guess as bad as you feared?
I honestly want to look a lot more into this, and I sort of suspect that the damage, as it were, that it causes is like quite subtle and harder to appreciate.
Yeah.
I don't think there's no damage. I think it does matter, and like the things we were concerned about are real. It's just that like it's really hard to kind of quantify that. And I sort of suspect that at the end of the day, the benefits just outweigh that by much higher degree, to the point where like it honestly like just should have just done it.
It was the cost that needed to be paid.
But the thing that you were just saying, right, is that like those kind of like mid items are like now worthless kind of thing, and that is exactly the fear that we had, right? Like that's the concern.
Yes, Jonathan was asking me before this, like what has been my feeling of like how it's affected my experience, and like I was saying, I'm the player who lives in that 5 to 10 C sale range, like selling those items for 5 to 10 chaos.
And that is exactly the fear that like introducing fast trade does kill the values there, and that like I mean that's a problem.
Yeah.
But the only thing that's going to change that is if we increase gold prices. Now, there's going to be an interesting dynamic with the gold and POE 1, and like we'll sort of be interested to see there. But it's like
we'll have to keep an eye on that one for sure.
Yeah. But it's sort of also hard to know exactly what's going to happen with POE 1 as well, just because there's so many.
Trying to wrap my head around why instant bio is killing those small trades.
Maybe the breadth of the economy will kind of change the dynamics a little bit there.
And why increasing gold costs?
It's really hard to say.
Well, like it's an interesting mixture of phenomena. Like you get the ability to obtain like your starter endgame gear for 5 exalts total. Like you can buy a set of gear basically for 1 exalt each.
Right.
So like that's obviously there's a big impact there.
For sure. I mean that's that once again that is the fear, right?
It's just like the standard now, or the bar for like the quality of our gear is raised to a certain point. And then I guess that has follow-up questions like, as to how powerful crafting is, how powerful like item drops are when you first get to early end game, like how difficult the content is. Obviously, there's like there's a whole like follow up here.
I mean, we're going to have to effectively look at what all of that and adjust. And the thing is that effectively by making trade easier, it's meant that the difference between SSF and not is effectively increased. And that kind of thing as well. Like, I mean, there's some stuff there. But I mean, going back to POE 1, I suppose, like, even though we've got this experience now with POE 2, we're just going to really just have to see what happens in the POE 1 economy. And there, you might have to be some adjustments. But it's going to come down to the individual.
I mean, either way, though, like the amount of people I saw just being like, please just deploy a league. I don't care if there's nothing in it.
Yeah,
as long as the trade system's there.
But the thing, right? Like it just kind of has to happen. Like it doesn't even matter. Like there can be problems and we'll adjust for them, but we still have to do it anyway.
But of course,
so an empty league would just trade.
Such an improvement.
Yeah. I'm loving it.
I'm excited.
It's good. It's so good.
It's very, very good.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting to explore this. Like maybe like even next Q&A, like how it looks like if we start to see things over time.
That would be cool. But yeah, it's crazy to think about, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we're talking about releasing Breach 9 years ago. Now who would have ever thought we'd have gold and asynchronous trade and a currency market and like, holy, we're not
actually
are we the same people
back then to say.
We are, but
there was a time when they said they never had gold.
It's a good thing. It is. It's healthy evolution. It's good.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on to some kind of mixed questions. Mercenaries was mentioned to be likely returning after rebalance redesign in some cases. I'm just curious, like, does that mean that like some sort of horrible mercenaries are planned to come back, or is it more just about like having the duels there with the gambling or something like that?
The intention is they come back. There's just a little bit of figuring. I mean, like with all these things, we have to figure out exactly what. It's very hard to develop. We like to see how players think about it, find the bad things, find the good things, and all that. And it's very hard to develop how it goes into core straight away, because then you'd be working on that, and some things might change, and then you end up wasting a bunch of time. It's way, 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 way easier to let it end, be able to process everything all in one collective, and then make the changes and bring it back together. But like, what is it like? It's a great new player tool. It's great, like, or less skilled players experience tool. But like, what does it look like when it's not the active league? Like, I don't want a mercenary in every area, and there's all these kinds of like things you got to mess around with and change about how they appear. Is it on the Atlas tree? Are there scarabs for it? Like, what does that even mean? I don't know. And then all the way through to were we happy with how they were itemized? Like, I thought it was too free to just put all the uniques on them without really caring about the downside. Like they would, there's like they weren't balanced quite right. There were some that were terrible, some that were not so terrible, and so there's just heaps of stuff to change. It's really hard to do that when you're in the middle of the league and where you're gathering all that information. So. Generally, when this is what you find with a lot of leagues, you get the league, you get a break, and then it comes back 1 or 2 leagues later because it's given us enough time to work out all those kinks and put it in game.
Fundamentally, though,
interesting to see.
So I quite liked Mercenaries, but I also see it as like the sort of thing that I don't know if I want it to always always have to hire a mercenary.
I agree.
Well, it would be mandatory, right?
And that would be and then this is the thing with additive power like that as well. Is like the moment you've got that, well, what's the reason why you don't do it? Yeah, and that's answering that question. I think is like
so that's part of the trying to figure out. Then is
you'd have to have a reason.
If you had a permanent mercenary and then permanent grafts and
exactly.
like we now have to start watering down the power systems.
Exactly. Right. There's questions there. But I think there should be a way to bring them back, and you just need to find the right way to do it that doesn't involve everyone has a mercenary all the time now, which is fine in a league, but I don't think fine for just the game overall.
Yeah. So I imagine it. When it comes back, it'll be some sort of more like limited or
maybe. Honestly, it's hard to say. It's hard to say.
Make it like a sentinel thing where you like pop it and it comes out for like 60 seconds to fight for you or something.
Ascendancy or something.
Do like once per map.
I mean, it's a cool design. Like it would be cool to have them back in some capacity.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm sure they will come back eventually. It's just how.
Yeah, we already said they were, so they are.
When you said mercenaries and then the graphs, and I was like, what's that game with the giant rolling ball that just sucks up all the entire city? Like I was like imagining Exiles just kind of becoming that over time.
Yeah, don't want to just turn the game into just like everyone's an auto bomber. You know, with all their just like league mechanics just killing everything for them, you know.
Katamari, thanks, Chad. That's the one. Yes, giant Katamari ball exiles. So we did touch on gold. That was good. Heist is mentioned as getting the Trathan gems added to it to give it a little bit more. It got some nice quality of life improvements. But something that I saw that was an interesting question was. So at one point, Heist had these like extra modifiers you could get on contracts to like make them more interesting.
Oh, did I?
They don't really
I got moved to AFK
like
channel. I see.
Go so far as to say right now, Heist doesn't really have
my Discord just like tweaked out.
How do you guys feel about the state of Heist overall?
It's not good enough. And this is the part of the problem is we were having. It's like, we want to do this kind of like mid to grand rework for it, like make it better and change this and change that. And then that was honestly what was holding up that QOL change, where it's just like, because we also were like, we'll design it out such that the rogues don't have the levels, and it was waiting on that, and I was like, okay, look, at this point, it's been too long. We don't know when we're going to be able to do this. We can't say with certainty, because again, the same resourcing limits, the same argument as Charlie. The answer is the same as everything. We have to pick our battles. There's more battles than can be fought, and so and the same thing. I was like, okay, well, look. If we're not doing this anytime soon, then yeah, we should do this QOL change, and you know we'll make little incremental improvements to them all the time. But yeah, it's one of those ones that needs some love for sure, and it'll come eventually. We cycle through everything eventually. So yeah, I mean, I just can't win. I don't know. You know, you never know. You never know with these things because we assess the battles every time, and we try and pick the best fought ones. And I know there'll be some people who are like, Heist should be your number one priority battle, but like, you know, I don't think that's the majority vote right now. So, you know, we try and make sure we, you know.
Heist is a tricky one because like I think it always suffered a bit of an identity and mechanics issue as to like, what is it supposed to be? Is it a stealth thing? Is it a just run through as fast as you can? What's the decision making?
For sure. Wow.
But it's also like simultaneously, it is quite well loved by the people who like it, and it had like a lot of flavor and cool characters and stuff in it. Like that. So it seems worth salvaging.
It's definitely rich of character involvement, NPCs.
I like Heist when I get into it, but sometims I have a hard time getting into it.
I named my daughter after one of the characters, so you better save the mechanic, please. Just saying.
Who was that? Was it
Talina?
I was going to say. I was going to suggest one of the crazy character.
That would be an interesting name for my daughter.
Well, I don't know why you named her that. That's your choice.
I'm a fan, okay? It comes up every now and then, of course. Campaign and leveling. At one point, I think like Path of Exile 2 was kind of like the thing that people were looking for to help save kind of the campaign experience for POE 1. But obviously it's a separate game now. So. Yeah, but you've done some nice improvements like adding new things and doing a few little streamlinings of earlier acts. Is this something that you're still looking to continue, especially with the context of you're saying that you're like not really beholden to trying to seek out new players now, so it might not be as important as it once was, but
I would argue it's more important.
Interesting.
Because those campaign changes are what helps it keep fresh for people who are replaying the game.
True.
It's actually it's way more important for the existing players. So yeah, it is something I do want to keep doing for sure.
Great.
You know, I liked the adding things, like different things happening in different zones, and you know, you can kind of restructure some of the areas a little bit and add a little thing here and there. I like doing all that for sure. So yeah, I would expect to continue seeing things. I don't think we have anything particular in 327 for that, but it will, at some point we'll certainly be doing another set of things, and we'll try and keep that up pretty consistently. If not on a patch by patch basis, at least every year you get a certain set of them and stuff like that, just to help it feel a bit fresh. I also like the things you just get to integrate like some other random league into the campaign somewhere. And
that was one of the best things about Mercenaries is leveling the character.
Being overrun by X or something.
Using like a strong mercenary.
The world is changing, and it's not just this static thing all of the time.
Just made the leveling experience
integration
pretty chill.
Mechanics into the campaign that you've been doing in PoE 2 and to a lesser extent in PoE.
I wonder how the graphs are going to be. I wonder how early you find them.
It's good. It's a good way to introduce that stuff to people over time as well. Did you ever have like a crazy fever dream where you like dreamt having like a league where you have some alternate leveling experience besides the campaign? I know that's never been a.
That would be a bit of a tricky one to do, honestly.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm pretty sure that has been something we've discussed for a very short amount of time, a long time ago. But don't know if we could really.
Yes, I've had some fever dreams about it, but I was just trying to remember what it was, but it couldn't work. I just remember.
Because I know, like, people ask about it every time, and I'm like, I guess I'll ask in a creative way this classic question of like, another way to level for the people who just don't like the campaign. Like, I know that you guys, you just want to make the campaign as good as possible. Like, the answer is always, we'll make the campaign better.
Yeah.
But then I thought, like, a league as a throwaway thing wouldn't be that permanent problem that you have.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting. That's why
you don't want to give something that's The problem is they'll like directly compete, and one will clearly be better, and then everyone will just do that.
You just make it really awful, and then they'll be like, "Oh, you're
great, great plan. Let's just make some terrible content.
Just to stick it to them.
Incompetence. Yes.
Here's your alternate leveling method. It takes 3 times longer than just doing the campaign. Enjoy.
I want the leagues to integrate into the campaign better and feel unique. Like, I don't know if you've noticed. It is a thing in PoE 2, and we're going to start doing it in PoE 1. Every single area for Rise of the Abyssal has a guaranteed drop that drops from the chest.
Yeah, it's great.
And I don't know how many people actually know this. I know it's not a secret.
The racers know.
Yeah, and then like I think like for example, the Molten Vault in Act 3 has a guaranteed unique drop for the first time you do an Abyss there.
Yep.
And so you get to do that thing where you get to like, and I want to make sure
I didn't know that.
We're going to do this system in PoE 1, by the way, with Keepers of the Flame, where you get like a kind of extra handcrafted guaranteed drop that we pick for each area in the campaign. So there's a little bit of like, what's it going to be in this area, and so, it'll help ideally if we do our job right, not just like be like, I'm going to skip every single area, get to endgame, and then care about it. Which is still a fine strategy, by the way. Go for it if you want.
Interesting.
But I don't know. Maybe
so should I be doing the league mechanic while leveling?
You want to do. I like that, but I want to make the active league feel more important in the campaign as well. So as much as we can do to strive towards having that be the case is always fun. I obviously understand though that like when you're insanely an accelerant player, you don't need it, right? You can just get to end game and then deal with it. You might not want to sink the time, but like a lot of people want to engage with it. A lot of people want to play the new league in the campaign, and so we should take every motivation we can to try and make that happen. And that way, the campaign can feel more enjoyable, not just be seen as a thing I need to get through. But there will always be a better that, and there's not really much you can do about it. So it's really the fight to keep it as feeling as fresh as possible, and with heaps of stuff going on. But it's part of that is the motivation of why we do leagues in the first place, right? Like, you want to come back and have this new thing going on in the world. Imagine if you came back and there wasn't even a league. Imagine you came back and it's like, okay, there's some balance changes, but like, what else is going on? So, like it even we understand that you must have the league in order for the campaign to not just feel the same every single time. So.
Yeah, true. Yeah. And I think like the ones that have had less impact on the campaign have certainly been a little bit less exciting for that
for sure.
initial leveling experience.
Yeah, for sure, because it's just the same as before, except
I have a phone call, guys. I'm gonna mute for a second.
You know, and then you really want to feel like the world is different. Something's going on, something you're engaging with you didn't before, and you know.
Anyway, I'm a campaign enjoyer. Sorry, I like it, but I got to rep the diverse opinions out there for that one. The
for sure, it's commonly brought up. It's always worth discussing. 100%.
It's a classic.
We compromised on gold. We compromised on trade. You know, it's always good for people to ask what else we and how.
Alrighty, guys. I think I might end it here. The Q&A's been good. I do want to see the rest of it. I may watch more of it on my own time, but I need to carry in groceries and put them away and everything. Which I could do that and then come back, but I'd only be coming back for another like 30 minutes before I have to go to cook dinner anyway. So I figure I might just end a little early tonight. I'm like really tired, so I'm probably just gonna veg and I don't know, maybe watch a little more of this, maybe go lay down or something. So I'll be back for my later tonight stream, probably playing, I'll be playing Diablo 2 again, so I may do a video, or I may stream me reading the patch notes, I'm not sure, or maybe I'll just read them, I don't know. But there's so many people that make videos on reading the patch notes, and I'm not, like, the best PoE 1 player, I'm, like, kind of out of the loop, so I may just read it on my own. So, anyways, guys, thank you for watching. See you in the next stream. Bye-bye.